You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2825, Chapter 2825, Chapter 597 was full of rewards, 6. Chapter 2825, Chapter 597 was full of rewards, 6. Suyu nodded and said gloomily, one didn't want to, but I really don't understand. Wan Tianxing thought for a moment and said, let's go up first. I'll see if I can give you some pointers. You should be able to see the river of time now. One can see a little. That's enough. Wan Tianxing smiled and said, it's a good thing that you can see it. It means that your strength has reached that level. You have absolute power. If your comprehension is stronger, you might be able to grasp the laws of time and space very soon. Hopefully. Suyu did not say anything else. Before he left, he saw Lu Hong quietly moving toward Xia Chen. Suyu grabbed him and Lu Hong immediately cried out, Suyu, I helped you and saved you. You're going too far. I'm not going to kill you. Suyu snorted. I'm here to discuss something with you. I want to make a big deal, but I'm afraid that the plan won't be perfect. Help me perfect it. What? Sell 9-leafed sky lotuses. Suyu said as he walked, the kind that sells dozens or hundreds of them. Tell me, I've just offended all the clans in the heavens. It's not easy to sell them. Even the clans don't believe that I will support the enemy. How many? More than 100. Why? 9-leafed sky lotus? Lu Hong was shocked. Suyu nodded and took out a 9-leafed sky lotus. Lu Hong looked at it. Even if he had never seen it before, he was still dizzy at the moment. Is it really a 9-leafed sky lotus? Behind them, he too and the others were also surprised. They all looked at Su. He too said in surprise, it's true. Xia Chen also asked curiously, where did you get so many? Prince Gong's residence only has 9. Even if you took all of them, you wouldn't have so many. On the other hand, Xingyue seemed to have thought of something and said hesitantly, smiley face lotus? Suyu smiled and said, 9-leaf sky lotus. Smiley face lotus. Xingyue snorted coldly. Others could be trusted, but Suyu was definitely lying. He too, on the other hand, seemed to have thought of something. He frowned and said, smiley face lotus. I seem to remember it, but this thing seems to be missing. Where did you find it? The 3rd floor. You're lucky. He too nodded. But you've offended all the experts. Could it be that you sold it to the Iron Eaters and humans? Otherwise, why would the other races believe that you, Suyu, would sell it to them? Suyu nodded and sighed. Yes, that's why it's not easy to sell it now. If it's too expensive, no one will want it. If it's too cheap, no one will believe it. Everyone knows that I have it, but it's not easy to deal with it now. He said regretfully, if we hadn't fought a big battle before, we might have been able to sell it. It was fine to cheat them, but now, it's difficult. When he said it was difficult, Lu Hong sneered. What's so difficult about it? All the CC in the world come for profit. Take the human realm as an example. The Myriad Clan sect has even done business with the human clans before, and they are mortal enemies. As long as there is profit to be made, there is naturally a possibility of a deal. However, we have to split them up and sell them one by one. One by one, they are unreliable. One flower can give birth to the unity of the Tao. One petal doesn't matter. At most, we can repair 3 bodies. Now, experts lacking 3 bodies are lining up in a long line. Lu Hong quickly said, the difficulty is not too high. As long as one is bold, it can be done whether it is a big deal or a small deal. What do you mean? Suyu looked at him. Sometimes, he might not be able to come up with a good idea. someone could remind him. A big deal is simple. Lu Hong smiled and said, we need Lord Hongmeng's help to secretly hunt down Heavenly Marquis Jian until he can't come out of the endless void. We'll pretend to be Heavenly Marquis Jian and use the reputation of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to directly contact a big shot to auction. Su Yu frowned. L fell out with him. Why would the Heaven Hunting Pavilion auction my things? Lu Hong smiled and said, why not? The Heaven Hunting Pavilion has given you what you need. It's a deal, nothing is impossible. What do you need the most now? Su Yu thought for a moment and said, nothing is lacking. I need the method to operate the Heavenly Cycle God Aperture. Does the Heaven Overseeing Marquis have it? Then how would I know? Does King Wen have it? Civilized Master, King Wen, there's a high probability of it. As Su Yu said, his eyes moved slightly and he said, he is King Wen's subordinate, so he has it? Impossible, why would King Wen pass this to him? That may not be the case, you are not even sure, do the myriad clans know? If that's the case, then the deal can be established. Su Yu still shook his head, even if Heaven Overseeing Marquis has it, he wouldn't sell it to me. That's true. Lu Hong laughed, but as long as we plan for a little longer, we can still do. Su Yu shook his head, that won't do, it's too long, I can't afford to delay. I'll think of a way myself, if it doesn't work, you're right, it's still possible to make use of people. Su Yu rubbed his chin, can we find an enemy to cooperate and make use of? The Floating Earth Spirit? Or Zhan Wushuang and Modwa? No one will believe me if I spread the word. If they spread the word. It's hard to say. Of course, we still have to make use of the time difference. As he said that, Su Yu's eyes flickered, let's see. Other than the divine aperture technique of the universe, I still lack one thing, the carrier. It wasn't a lack, it was a very lack. I'm too lacking. I've only fused a little more than 20 carriers into the book. Wan Tianxing asked in puzzlement, you still lack carriers? Wasn't this guy a lot? Su Yu suddenly thought of this matter. He hurriedly looked at Xingyue and said, Sir, we've killed so many invincible beings this time. Are there any carriers left behind? Xingyue said indifferently, there are. The others don't mind, but I've kept them. If you contribute, I'll reward you later. The undead didn't care too much about this thing. Xingyu knew that Su Yu wanted it, so she collected some. Sir, how many? 9, the rest are broken. Unfortunately, there were 18 invincible ones, at least 36 of them. In the end, so many were broken, only 9 were left. The undead really didn't cherish these things. Some might have fallen out, but they were still broken by them. 9 was not a small number. As for the undefeatable spirits that were killed in the outside world, Su Yu had also collected a few. There were not many, but he had only collected 3. In the face of the Great War, he did not have the time to collect these. In total, there were 12 of them. 27 of them had been fused. In total, there were less than 40 of them. As Su Yu thought of this, he sighed. There is still a long way to go. With my civilization, including this time, I have only fused less than 40 carriers. I still intend to collect 10,000 of them. Wan Tianxing looked at him in a daze. Beside him, Lu Hong did not say a word. 40. Animals. One unrivaled expert needed 2. 20 unrivaled experts were enough. Animals. Blue Sky was just saying that. Are you King serious? Wan Tianxing was also speechless. As for Su Yu, he did not care about them. He quickly said to Xingyue, Sir, I'll come and get them when I'm free. Sir, please give them to me first. Next time, I'll bring you delicious food. Xingyu looked at him coldly. Let's talk about it after you've rendered meritorious service. Su Yu thought for a moment and nodded. No problem. PLL go and kill a few undead spirits later. I'll use the undead mark to exchange for it with Sir. Xingyu ignored him. He could have it. Wan Tiansheng actually wanted to say something. If you give me your 9 carriers, I can also help you kill the undead spirits. Forget it, I won't argue with this kid anymore. Besides, this undead might not even bother with me. Suyu chuckled and didn't say anything else. The harvest was still good, so he left. He wanted to strengthen himself. He wanted to look at the Wisdom King's memories and think of a way to cheat him again. P.S. I'll continue to ask for votes. I can't have too many monthly votes. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 28-26, Chapter 28-26, Chapter 598, Contents page L. Chapter 28-26, Chapter 598, Contents page L. When they walked out of the Dead Soul's realm, the sky outside had already darkened. The blood cloud had already dissipated. So many invincible experts had died, and it seemed that they were nothing more than this. In this myriad realms, without anyone, they could still live and function. No matter how strong an expert was, if they died, they would be nothing. Xing Hong also returned to his original position. At this moment, Elder Wang shouted outside the main hall, "City Lord. Enter." Soon, Elder Wang walked into the main hall and reported, "City Lord, outside the city, the West Pavilion Master of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion requests an audience." West Pavilion Master. Suyu raised his eyebrows slightly. He had thought that this person had left, or that he had gone to the human race's side. He had not expected that he would actually come here to look for him. Invite him into the city. The West Pavilion Master was also a top-tier expert, with the strength of A-level 7 Eternal Realm expert. Previously, he had stopped the Pavilion Master of the South Pavilion. Otherwise, Su Yu and Wan Tiansheng would have to face 2 more Eternal 7 Dan experts. Su Yu and Wan Tiansheng would not be able to match up to these 2. At that time, they could only open the undead passageway. If they opened it then, the Wisdom King would not appear. If the Wisdom King did not die, even if they killed the Heaven Hunting Pavilion's people, the Immortals might not give up. Therefore, this person had played a greater role in the battle. On the side, Wan Tianxing said in a low voice, "I'll go out first. You be careful. Although the possibility of a fake betrayal is not high, you still have to be careful. He's very strong. Be careful of being ambushed by him." This was something that he had to be careful of. Suyu nodded. At this stage, if an Eternal 7 Dan wanted to ambush him, he did not open the Heaven's Gate, so the probability of him being ambushed and killed was still very high. "I'll be on guard." Suyu smiled and was about to continue speaking. Myriad Sage said in a deep voice, "Don't believe everything in the divine texts. One, know that you have a premonition of danger in the divine texts, but don't rely too much on them. The divine texts can prevent danger, so naturally, they can also shield you from danger. You should understand. Divine texts weren't omnipotent. Any divine text might have a corresponding divine text. For example, tribulation, and tranquility. So you sometimes wondered if these 2 divine texts, if they appeared on different people, could the tranquility divine text block the perception of the tribulation divine text. At this moment, Suyu nodded. No. I don't dare to be careless. I can't not believe in divine texts, but I can't completely rely on divine texts either. It's good that you understand. Wan Tianxing didn't say much and quickly disappeared from the main hall. As for Suyu, he made some preparations and walked out of the hall. Outside the hall, an expert wearing a golden mask walked over with Elder Wang. From a distance, Suyu smiled and said, "Sorry for my rudeness. I'm Xian Jia, the Elder of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion's Dark Division." Greetings, West Pavilion Master. I'm no longer West Pavilion Master. Please forgive me, City Lord Su. West Pavilion Master's voice was cold. Suyu smiled and said, Pavilion Master, you are wrong. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion is the territory of the human race's King of One. We are not traitors. The traitors are Heaven Overseeing Marquis. If we were to say that the Heaven Hunting Pavilion is orthodox, it would naturally be us. The Pavilion Master is still the Pavilion Master, and I am naturally still an elder. The Pavilion Master of the West Pavilion was shocked by his words. He had never thought of it that way. Heaven Overseeing Marquis had been in charge of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion for 100,000 years. For 100,000 years, everyone had tacitly agreed that the Heaven Hunting Pavilion was his. But now that Suyu said this, it did not seem unreasonable. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion belongs to the human race. The Pavilion Master of the West Pavilion muttered. Suyu smiled and said, Of course. The fame of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion lies in the Heaven Hunting List. Even the Heaven Hunting List was left behind by King One. The Heaven Overseeing Marquis, who is the gatekeeper of the courtyard, actually dares to rebel now. The Pavilion Master of the West Pavilion thought for a moment when he heard this and said, There are some things that cannot be said in this way. According to what you said, all the worlds in the universe actually belong to the human race. Because in ancient times, this was the territory of the human race. That's right. Suyu said matter-of-factly, isn't it? West Pavilion Master felt that he was a little out of place with Suyu. After he said that, Suyu really went to answer seriously. He was not actually arguing for the Heaven Overseeing Marquis. He just felt that it was better to be fair. The ancient times had been destroyed. For 100,000 years, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion had been controlled by the Heaven Overseeing Marquis. If the Heaven Overseeing Marquis was said to be a traitor, then all the worlds in the universe. Except for the human race. The Pavilion Master of the West Pavilion did not know if he was frowning. He stood in front of Suyu and did not take another step forward. He said in a deep voice, City Lord Su is very powerful, his talent is also strong, and his luck is prosperous. However, if City Lord wants to unify the heavens and restore the glory of the ancient era, then forgive me for offending you. At least for now, I don't see any hope. Unify the heavens? Glory of the ancient times? Suyu smiled and said, Pavilion Master, please forgive me. One don't nave second thoughts for the time being. The only thought I have is that anyone who goes against me must die. Were these words different from what he said before? There are many who have offended you. Even the great clans have offended you. Since you have already killed them, you will probably be able to unify the heavens. Pavilion Master, please. It is impolite to exchange greetings outside. Suyu extended his hand to welcome him. Pavilion Master West was silent for a moment before he stepped into the main hall. Suyu followed him in. He did not stand on ceremony and quickly sat on the main seat. Elder Wang poured tea for Pavilion Master West. After a moment, Suyu took the initiative to speak. Pavilion Master came to see me. Is there something you want to advise me about, or do you need help? Pavilion Master, I am extremely grateful for your help earlier. If you have anything to say, feel free to say it. West Pavilion Master was silent for a while and said slowly, I'll just want to talk to you about the Heaven Hunting Pavilion and saving some people. Saving people? West Pavilion Master said in a deep voice, saving people. There were still many humans in the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Eternity was gone now, but there was still a batch of humans who had infiltrated the tide. This time, I chose to betray Heavenly Marquis Jian. He will definitely wipe out those humans. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 28-27, Chapter 28-27, Chapter 598, Page of Contents 2. Chapter 28-27, Chapter 598, Page of Contents 2. Is there a lot? Suyu actually knew that there seemed to be a lot of humans mixed into the heaven hunting pavilion. As for the exact number, he really did not know. There should be a lot. The pavilion master of the West Pavilion said in a deep voice, I am in charge of the West Pavilion. As far as I know, there are no less than 100 humans in the West Pavilion. I think there should be a lot of humans in the north, south, second floor, and the 4 divisions of heaven and earth, no less than 1,000 people. Suyu thought for a moment and said, can he find out? The system of the heaven hunting pavilion is level by level. Each level only controls one level under it. West Pavilion Master explained, he is the heaven overseeing Marquis. His authority is different from ours. If his master does not know how many people are under him, then this organization has lost its original purpose. The heaven hunting pavilion was originally under Lord One, and only Lord One had the right to know all the candidates. However, Heavenly Marquis Jian had been refining the heaven hunting list for many years. The mask came from the heaven hunting list. Once he refined the heaven hunting list, he would know the names of everyone. The West Pavilion Master continued, knowing the names of everyone, humans are unlucky for one thing. Secondly, some of the other 10,000 races mixed into the list would also be seen through by him. He might use these to do something. So you mean, he hasn't completely refined the heaven hunting list? Don't think so. West Pavilion Master explained, after all, that is King Wen's treasure, not his. There is the mark left by King Wen, but after many years, he has almost finished refining it. This time, before you came out, the heaven hunting pavilion briefly integrated the words Atlas. As expected, it also accelerated his refining speed. How long will it take? I'm not sure. Pavilion Master West shook his head, then, he said, in addition, even if he didn't refine it, he might have gathered all the elders and forcefully identified them one by one. He can do it. After capturing the human elders, we can investigate them one by one. We can definitely find a lot of humans. Suyu nodded and said, then, what did the humans who sneaked in do? Do they have any merit? Suyu asked. If they didn't contribute anything, they would be committing murder and arson just to become stronger. If he thought of a way to go, could it be that he would go and kill Heavenly Marquis Jian for these people? Of course, they contributed a lot. West Pavilion Master said in a deep voice, in the early stage of the human realm opening mansion, the humans entered various worlds. Some of the maps of the experts and the defense system were provided by the heaven hunting pavilion for the humans. Otherwise, do you think it would be so easy to rashly charge into various worlds? In the middle stage, the heaven hunting pavilion was the largest trading partner of the human realm. With the thoughts of the heaven overseeing Marquis, he might not be willing to trade with the human race. This was also the result that some people fought for. In the later stage, the human race fought their way into the heavens through various manners. The heaven hunting pavilion also played the role of a mouthpiece for intelligence. Many times when the human race was trapped and besieged, it was the members of the heaven hunting pavilion who used their identities as third parties to investigate the intelligence and pass it to the human race, thus allowing the human race to escape from danger. When he said this, Suyu's interest was piqued. So, many people contributed. That's right. Of course, there are also some people who simply took advantage of the situation and joined the heaven hunting pavilion. He looked at Suyu, for example. You. Yes, Suyu joined the heaven hunting pavilion because he wanted to take advantage of the situation. He did not have a big goal. Suyu smiled and did not feel awkward. He asked, Pavilion Master, do you mean that you want me to save them? West Pavilion Master was silent for a moment, then nodded. Why don't you look for the human race? West Pavilion Master said in a deep voice, the human race has no choice. Heaven overseeing Marquis isn't afraid of them, and he doesn't need their treasures. Then what's the use of looking for me? It's useful, of course, I know that it might not be worth it to you. If you are willing to exchange with Heaven Overseeing Marquis for the record that Senior Tian Mia obtained before, he is definitely willing to give up killing some humans below eternity. That won't affect him at all. Record? So you didn't know about this yet, West Pavilion Master explained. In General Duo Bao's hands, he later gave it to Senior Tianmi to buy his life. This is also an important part of the heaven hunting list. To Marquis Tianmi, this is more important than anything else. Of course, this is very precious. Perhaps you feel that it's not worth it to exchange for some humans below the eternal realm. I'm only here to give it a try. I hope you can. Suyu asked doubtfully, can't the humans leave on their own and return to the humans? Pavilion Master West fell silent for a moment. Some of them may not be willing to leave. Because they feel that they haven't been exposed yet. There's still hope that they can continue to stay. They've been dormant for many years. Some of them are already at the level of elders, in charge of intelligence reports from various worlds, and even a large amount of resources. Once they leave, all of this will be gone. He sighed. Including my subordinates, there are 2 human elders. I have already sent a message to them, asking them to leave. But they are not willing. West Pavilion has a large amount of wealth and intelligence, including a large number of people from various worlds. Once they give up this position, everything will be gone. Intelligence and people from various worlds. Suyu rubbed his chin and said, this is quite useful. For example, if I infiltrate the various worlds, I can't have one more person appear silently, right? Perhaps I still need the cooperation of the locals, right? West Pavilion Master was speechless. Your first thought was to infiltrate. Suyu smiled, he said, I'll think about it. How about this, Pavilion Master first contact the Heaven Hunting Pavilion and tell Heaven Overseeing Marquis not to be in a hurry to wipe out the human race. As for me, I'm willing to swap with him. What a big deal. But first, read the record for me. Could it be King Wen's divine text? Let him wait. 10 or 8 years is nothing to him, right? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2828, Chapter 2828, Chapter 598, Page of Contents 3. Chapter 2828, Chapter 598, Page of Contents 3. West Pavilion Master said in a low voice, he might not be willing to wait that long. It's been too long. We can arrange for the evacuation of the human race. Suyu smiled and said, all right, 1 month. If I want to exchange it in a month, I'll give it to him. If I don't want to exchange it, then it's up to him. West Pavilion Master did not say anything else. He came with only a glimmer of hope. Since Suyu said so, at least there was still hope. He stood up and was about to leave. This time, his goal was to ask Suyu for help. After the discussion, there was no need for him to stay any longer. However, Suyu smiled and said, Pavilion Master, are you going to the human race now or where? Don't think you will go to the human race. If you go, you might not gain the trust of the human race. Rather than that, why don't you go to the celestial battlefield or a small world to enjoy yourself? After saying that, the West Pavilion Master continued, the city lord probably doesn't need my help. After all, there are so many guards. Obviously, he was also informing them in advance that he wouldn't come to the ancient city. Suyu didn't care about this. He smiled and said, L won't force you. It's just that I have a small matter that I want to ask for your help with. Tell me about it. Pavilion Master has been the Heaven Hunting Pavilion Master for countless years. I don't think he wouldn't have no hidden strength or connections at all. Suyu smiled and said, it's a very simple matter. As he spoke, Suyu took out a book and said with a smile, Pavilion Master, do you know what this is? West Pavilion Master took a look and said, the literary weapon that you forged last time. Yes. Suyu smiled and said, is it powerful? Very powerful. Then do you know why this weapon is so powerful? West Pavilion Master frowned and Suyu said again, do you know that I have fused 30 carriers into it? In addition, there are also the blood essence of countless experts. Evil weapon. On one hand, he was shocked by Suyu's generosity. He had fused 30 carriers into it. On the other hand, he was shocked that he had used the blood essence of experts to upgrade his heavenly weapon. This was an evil weapon. Suyu smiled and said, yes, evil weapon. That's why I've killed countless people and killed countless invincible people. All of them were to seize their blood essence and carriers. I hope Pavilion Master can spread the news about this weapon. Huh? West Pavilion Master could not help but look at Suyu. Spread the news. Yes. Suyu smiled and said, I'll think that Pavilion Master should have a chance to spread the news, but don't let everyone know about it. What I hope to see is that only some top-tier experts know about it. What do you want to do? West Pavilion Master said in a deep voice, this will cause trouble for yourself. Suyu laughed, is there a difference? Am I not troublesome enough, right? There was no difference at all. West Pavilion Master was also slightly stunned. Yes, there didn't seem to be any difference. Now, those who wanted to kill Suyu wanted to kill him. Those who didn't want to kill him wouldn't kill him just because of the weapon. Suyu smiled and said, this heavenly weapon is just a heavenly weapon. It has just reached the advanced level of a heavenly weapon and isn't even at the peak. One still want to create a heavenly weapon. One really want to have another big battle and kill some invincible ones to merge into my book. West Pavilion Master muttered, you want to spread this out? Of course. Suyu smiled and said, I'll need these things urgently. It's very urgent. Because this thing is related to the improvement of my strength. One need these things urgently. West Pavilion Master still did not understand. However, after Suyu said so, he thought for a moment and said, okay, but if you want to remain calm and silent, you still need some time. No problem. As he said that, Suyu cupped his hands and smiled, then I'll have to trouble. Of course. The West Pavilion Master did not say much and quickly left. After he left, Wan Tianxing walked out. He looked at him and then looked at Suyu, what are you up to now? Suyu smiled and said, no, I'm selling something. You don't have a treasure that you need urgently. If you sell the 9-leafed sky lotus, who would believe it? Suyu chuckled and said, I need to build up my reputation before one sell it. One, urgently need a vessel, blood essence, and a large amount of blood essence. The blood essence of a powerhouse. This time, I think that some powerhouses have some savings on hand. They say that Suyu, am evil and that I'm forging evil weapons, but if one were to use the 9-leafed sky lotus to exchange for treasures that can upgrade evil weapons, they would be happy. They may be cursing, but in their hearts, they're thinking, what does the evil weapons have to do with me? I can just strengthen myself. It smells so good. Where does it smell good? The little hairy ball hurriedly stuck its head out and popped out from Suyu's head. It heard that it smelled really good. Suyu slapped his own forehead and smacked that fellow into his head. Wan Tianxing did not care about it and smiled, you are quite bold, creating momentum, that's right. You have to tell everyone what you lack. There is indeed a need for that. After saying that, he asked, about the record, heavenly destruction might not give it to you. That is a treasure, one of the components of a divine weapon. It can be used as a heavenly weapon even under normal circumstances. Also, if I give it to you, are you really going to give it to Heaven Overseeing Marquis? Once he refines the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, his strength will definitely increase. This is just looking for trouble for himself. Let's see. Suyu smiled and said, haven't seen anything yet. I'll go look for Lord Heaven's destruction later. Besides, I think that thing might have something to do with me. Something to do with you. Suyu smiled and said, that's right, it's mine. Wan Tiansheng was speechless. Why did all the treasures belong to you? The myriad realms also belong to you. The treasures also belong to you. This kid, the stronger he gets, the more greedy he gets. Suyu didn't care so much. Only now did he know that Tian Mia had actually seized a portion of the heaven hunting list. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 28-29, Chapter 28-29, Chapter 598, Page of Contents 4. Chapter 28-29, Chapter 598, Page of Contents 4. Heaven Hunting List. Catalog. Suyu knew all of this at this moment. The word picture was with Half-Emperor Tian Yuan. The word record was originally with Duo Bao. Now, it had been taken away by Tian Mia. Catalog. Countless thoughts emerged in Suyu's mind. Catalog. Heaven Hunting List. The Golden Book in his mind. He had thought about whether the Heaven Hunting List was a murder list that was based on a map. Reality proved that it was. When he connected it with his own civilization, Suyu even had thoughts of creating such a catalog. However, the difficulty should not be small. This time, he was even more certain. Perhaps these few things were really one. This might be the civilization of the previous generation of Time Masters. If that was really the case, then King Wen should be a Time Master. King Wu is called Tai Shan, King Wen and Time Master are the same person, and old Zhou might be a martial emperor. Suyu felt that the things he grasped seemed to be increasing. And the Golden Book. Why did the Golden Book appear in my mind? Strange. Is this King Wen's inheritance or a Time Master's inheritance? At this moment, Suyu was even more certain that the thing in his head might be the previous generation's civilization. Not long after, Suyu arrived at the ancient city of Heaven's destruction. And in the ancient city, he actually saw Tianhe. That's right, Tianhe had returned. Suyu had also seen it before and didn't pay much attention to it. However, at this moment, his interest was piqued. The moment he saw Tianhe, he wasn't in a hurry to look for Tianhe anymore. He smiled and said, City Lord Tianhe, I haven't seen you at the Starry Manor. Where have you been? When Tianhe saw Suyu, his face was filled with sorrow and melancholy. He sighed and said, don't mention it. I was probably the one who entered the treasure mountain and returned empty-handed. You don't even know what I discovered. His face was filled with mystery. He transmitted his voice and said, you simply can't believe that I was actually teleported to an unrecorded treasure land. That place was incomparably huge. This was not the main point. The main point was that there was no one. It was fine if there was no one there, but you wouldn't be able to imagine that there was a divine weapon there. It really was a divine weapon. There were several of them. At first, I thought that it was a mountain range, but later, one realized that it wasn't. It was an incomparably huge mountain range that spanned the heavens and earth, but it was actually a divine weapon. He said in shock, a real divine weapon. When I punched down, there wasn't the slightest reaction. I flew up along the mountain range and flew for a very long time. In the end, I came to a conclusion. Tian, he said in shock, it's an extremely powerful divine weapon. It's similar to bones. It might be a divine weapon forged by primitive experts in the ancient times. At that time, they might have been more used to using bones as weapons. It's simply unimaginable. What bones? Suyu seemed to understand a little and asked, what does it look like? Tianhe quickly copied it. Suyu looked at it and realized that it was probably the humerus. Did it enter his arm? Suyu rubbed his chin, he added, then you continued to move forward and found a divine weapon. It was smaller than this divine weapon, but it was not much different. It was still very long. Then, you continued to move forward and perhaps you found 5 divine weapons. They were like whips with links. Tianmia said in shock, "You went in too. Why didn't I see you?" Su Yu shrugged. As expected, he really entered the arm space. Su Yu was a little surprised. How did this thing teleport? The dead souls entered the first level, and the half-dead souls entered the arm space. Right, where were the other half-dead souls? This time, there were quite a number of half-dead souls that went in. Waterman, Shadow, and the others all went, but Su Yu didn't have time to care about the previous battle. A part of them were taken away by the humans, and Su Yu wasn't sure either, did Xiao Longwu and the others take those guys away? If they did not take them away, there was a high chance that they would be finished. If they met them, it was still possible for them to be taken away. After all, Hong Tan knew them. They were all captured by him back then. Tianhe was strong, but he ran back on his own. At this moment, Tianhe was really shocked. Su Yu, did you go over there too? Did you dig up a divine weapon? That was definitely a divine weapon. It was terrifyingly powerful. Su Yu was speechless. Dig my A**s. If you really dug, that would be tearing old Zhou's bones apart. If he doesn't beat you to death, I'll take your surname. No, don't think about it. You're lucky that you can't dig. If you could dig, looking at you, you really wanted to tear old Zhou's bones apart. You're really brave. Su Yu, that's a divine weapon. Definitely. A divine weapon is not something you can think about. It's the same for me. Su Yu asked, other than these, is there nothing else? I see that you have not attained the Tao yet, but you have stepped into the quasi-invincible realm. Don't you have a second item? Tianhe sighed, don't mention it. There are so many treasures, but I can't get one. As long as I can get one, do I need to worry about these things? He sighed helplessly. He had really entered the treasure mountain and returned empty-handed. In that place, any random item was nothing. A heavenly weapon could be used as a carrying item, let alone a divine weapon. Then continue to be bothered. Later, if I have any extra or if you have made any contributions, I'll give you one. Now that you haven't made any contributions, I'll use it for myself. It's what I should do. Tianhe didn't care about this and continued to sigh. This time, he had suffered a huge blow and shock. He looked at the countless treasures but couldn't take them away. After suffering for a month, he almost vomited blood. Even if he hadn't gone crazy, his willpower was already strong. There were so many divine weapons. In the myriad realms of the heavens, he probably couldn't find so many divine weapons. He saw, but he cannot take it away. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2830, Chapter 2830, Chapter 598, Contents page 5. Chapter 2830, Chapter 598, Contents page 5. He was heartbroken. So much so that even though heaven's destruction had scolded him a few times, he couldn't be bothered to reply. He couldn't be bothered to reply. Whatever. Anyway, now that Su Yu was the Vice City Lord, he didn't even need to bear the death aura anymore. He was happy and relaxed. It was just a pity that he had a treasure. That guy is crazy. As soon as Su Yu arrived, Tianmia sighed and said, he used to be very afraid of me, but now he's crazy. I called out to him a few times, but he actually ignored me. Oh my God. Tianmia could not believe that Tianhe would be so bold. Su Yu chuckled and said, that's normal. Any normal person who sees so many treasures but can't take them away and even stays with him for a month will explode when they come out. Is what he said true? It's probably true. Su Yu smiled and said, it's not a divine weapon. It's probably a martial emperor's hand bone. He became a divine weapon, so it's more or less the same. Tianmia muttered. El thought he was lying and dreaming. He entered an illusion. Do you mean, he really encountered it? Yes. Then it's not strange that he went crazy. Tianmia shook his head. Yes, he did. I wanted to snatch a divine weapon even if I saw it, let alone him. Then, he said in a low voice, bone, teleportation. Human interface. Your words have given me some ideas. Suyu smiled and said, what's there to think about? It's obvious. Tianmia was speechless. After a long while, he said, if it's true, the martial king is too ruthless. Is he still alive? He might be alive. That martial king is not only the martial king. At least the human emperor and King Wen knew about it when it was created. These people are really ruthless. Heaven's destruction had roughly guessed it. He was also speechless. To create a peerless expert into a Star Moon manor and still be alive after countless years, this was much worse than them. The Star Moon manor was even earlier than the heavenly battlefield. It was more than 100,000 years old. As Tianmia spoke, he quickly said, then his head is facing down. As he spoke, he thought about it again and suddenly cackled. Then where is Prince Gong's manor? Suyu shrugged. Don't ask me, I don't know. Cackle. Tianmia laughed uncontrollably. That fellow, Prince Gong, isn't a good person. In the past, he always reprimanded me. Cackle, cackle, so that fellow actually lives in someone else's. Ha ha ha. He was overjoyed. It was as if the pain of 100,000 years had been completely resolved at this moment. That bastard King Gong had sent them here for 1,000 years, but in the end, it turned out to be 100,000 years. If King Gong had not died, heaven's destruction would have wanted to blow his head off. Now that he thought about it, he was instantly overjoyed. Suyu was also helpless. Alright, sir, don't be happy yet. Can you give me the word record? After a long while, Tianmia remembered what he was talking about. He quickly said, you want this thing? Let's take a look first. If it's good, I want it. If it's not good, then forget it. Tianmia sneered. That's my trophy. What are you thinking? Sir, you can go out and play for 3 to 5 more days. Heh, 3 to 5 days. Tianmia sneered, this thing is a treasure. 7 to 8 days. Heh heh. Suyu turned around and left. No, sir, keep it for yourself. Tianmia coughed lightly and shouted, come back. Including the 3 days from before, it's a total of half a month. I want to go out together and have fun for half a month. No problem. Suyu agreed readily. It wasn't a big deal. In the distance, Wan Tiansheng, who hadn't come close all this while, cast his gaze over. His eyes were filled with regret and confusion. It turned out that in Tianmia's eyes, the treasure that the heaven-overseeing Marquis pursued was only worth 12 days of vacation. Pitiful, pitiful, lamentable. As for Suyu, this kid's heart was really dark. Suyu didn't care about these things. Heaven's destruction didn't have much use for it. In fact, the others didn't have much use for it. Otherwise, Duo Bao wouldn't have lost this thing to save his life. 12 days of vacation. That was more or less enough. What else could he ask for? Very quickly, he obtained something. It was a light golden shard-like object. It was very big. In the middle of the shard, there was an inlaid word, record. It was the type of word that belonged to the text of will. Was it this thing? The moment Suyu took it, the golden shard in his mind trembled slightly. It seemed to have some reaction. The shard also emitted a faint glow. The originally silent shard seemed to have some effect of reviving at this moment. As for Su Yu, his vision was slightly blurry. When he looked at the record word again, pictures seemed to appear in his eyes. Numerous figures and strands of aura seemed to appear. Record. It had the effect of recording, collecting, recording, and carving. At this moment, figures appeared in Su Yu's eyes. He seemed to have seen the 10,000 heavenly saints, the 9th month, and the sky devouring. Su Yu was slightly dazed. This was a catalogue. Yes, it must be a catalogue. And this catalogue had some special effects, even the effect of monitoring the heavens. All the geniuses were captured in one go and recorded in the catalogue. However, this was not complete. It was only one of the fragments. It broke. Su Yu muttered. How could such a powerful thing break? Was its master dead? Or had it been broken by someone? It was said that this thing had been in the heaven hunting pavilion the whole time, so the possibility of it being broken was not high. Otherwise, the heaven overseeing Marquis would have died long ago. In that case, it was very likely that its master had died and the divine text had exploded. No. This record should be the divine text. The divine text was still there, but the catalogue had shattered. Could it be that King Wen had done it on purpose? He could not come back, or he was going to die. He did not want Heavenly Marquis Jian to get the complete catalogue. If he lost control, what would he do with the catalogue page? Therefore, King Wen had deliberately shattered this. This was the biggest possibility. At this moment, Su Yu had this thought. Otherwise, the divine text should have shattered, not the catalogue page. This did not make sense. King Wen, shattered on his own. Then, did he also shatter the entire civilization at that moment, and a part of it entered his mind? Strange. Countless thoughts rose in Su Yu's mind again. Why did it have to be divided into several parts instead of being completely passed down? This was something he didn't understand. And at this moment, he continued to read. It was as if he saw more things. He saw the heaven overseeing Marquis. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2831, Chapter 2831, Chapter 599 has a big secret L. Chapter 2831, Chapter 599 has a big secret L. Yes, heaven overseeing Marquis. Or rather, through this record word, Su Yu saw the heaven hunting list, and thus indirectly saw heaven overseeing Marquis. Su Yu was surprised. Was this a current surveillance or a past image? If that was the case, could heaven overseeing Marquis also see him? Then wouldn't Duo Bao and the others have been monitoring the heaven overseeing Marquis? Countless doubts instantly surfaced in Su Yu's mind. He didn't have time to think too much. Su Yu looked at the record fragment. At this moment, the heaven overseeing Marquis seemed to be in one of the great halls. He might be in the heaven hunting pavilion. He could vaguely see the heaven overseeing Marquis' appearance, but it wasn't very clear. Su Yu didn't know if this was an image that existed or not. Was it recorded in a certain day in the past? Strange. As he was thinking, he suddenly felt a little absent-minded. He vaguely heard a voice, "Is there any news from Tianyu?" "Pavilion Master, not yet. He disappeared, but I don't think he's dead yet." "Do you think he'll betray?" "I don't know." "Forget it. Go and gather those elders. All of them will come to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion headquarters to participate in the Elder Banquet in 10 days. "Yes, my lord." The voice of the outsider quickly disappeared. At this moment, Su Yu could vaguely sense that the heaven overseeing Marquis was touching the heaven hunting list. He felt something. Soon. Soon, you'll be mine. Su Yu. Su Yu didn't die despite being cursed by the heavenly abyss. There must be a treasure in his sea of consciousness. Lord King Wen, is this your inheritance or Time Master? Murmuring sounds rang out. A moment later, Suyu suddenly woke up and automatically exited the image from before. His willpower had been exhausted, and his forehead was drenched in sweat. His face was deathly pale. The record fragment in front of him had also regained its dim light from before. It seemed to have been activated just now, and now it was in a deep sleep. On the side, Tianmia asked curiously, "What did you do just now?" "This thing is in my hands, and it hasn't changed at all." "Why did it glow the moment it was in your hands?" Suyu took a deep breath. "Did you see it just now, sir?" "What? What did I see?" Tianmia was at a loss. Suyu understood. In that case, only he could see it. At that moment, he seemed to have activated this thing. What he saw was not the heaven overseeing marquee, but the heaven hunting roll. Because they were one and the same, he just happened to see the heaven overseeing marquee. Suyu took a deep breath and did not say or think about it. Soon, he picked up the fragment and rubbed it. Was this a divine text? If it was a divine text, this should be an eternal divine text, right? He had never seen an eternal divine text before. Did this count? But if this was a divine text, it seemed to be embedded in the fragment and could not be opened. Otherwise, it would be broken to cultivate. Alright, this thought had just been born, and the record divine text seemed to be trembling a little. Did this divine text have spirituality? Did it sense my thoughts? One wonder if this is a divine text, or if King Wen wrote it himself. Suyu looked at Tianmia. "Sir, what do you think?" Tianmia said nonchalantly, "At King Wen's level, even if it's just written, his own writing must be quite serious. This thing isn't a divine text, but it's still stronger than ordinary divine texts. The contents might not necessarily be a divine text, but it was definitely very strong." This was true. Suyu nodded slightly. That was true. "Sir, can you crush this thing?" "Are you sure?" Heaven's Destruction chuckled and said, "Are you sure you want me to try and see if I can crush it?" Suyu nodded. "Let's try. Maybe we can get rid of the outer things and reveal the words inside. Whether it's a divine text or not, let's take a look." "You bastard." Tianmia was also speechless. He was really bold. "Alright, then I'll give it a try." He did not say much and held the fragment. With a low growl, he used extreme force. With a rumble, the fragment creaked, but it did not shatter. Instead, Tianmia's palm was pierced a little, revealing some traces of blood. Tianmia shook his hand and threw the item out. He bared his teeth and said, "Good treasure, and it's very sturdy. How was this thing shattered back then? It needs to be at least at the Tao fusing level." "Sir, you can't break it." Heaven Extinguisher said unhappily, "Nonsense, I really have to go all out and break everything with a stick, but are you sure you want me to do this and break it?" Suyu thought about it. "Forget it, let's talk about it next time." This thing seemed to be somewhat useful now. At least, it could monitor Heaven Overseeing Marquee, but Heaven Overseeing Marquee didn't seem to have noticed it yet. Is it related to the golden book in my head? Suyu thought to himself, then can I put it in my head? He was afraid that something would go wrong. If I put it in and it suddenly exploded and destroyed my sea of consciousness, then I would be finished. I still have to think twice about what I put in my head. Right, Hairy Ball. Suyu thought of something and quickly squeezed Hairy Ball out of his head. Looking at the dazed Hairy Ball, he asked, "Does it smell good?" Was this a treasure from the same origin as the picture book? If it was, it would be very attractive to Hairy Ball. Hairy Ball sniffed it and felt it for a while. He hesitated and said, "It smells a little good." "Just a little. Do you want to eat it?" "Can I eat it?" Suyu touched his chin. "Is this fragrance the same as the one you usually smell?" "Pretty much." Pretty much. The little furball fan said confusedly, yeah, pretty much. Then why don't you jump up and eat it? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2832, Chapter 2832, Chapter 599 had a big secret too. Chapter 2832, Chapter 599 had a big secret too. It doesn't smell as good as yours. On the side, Heaven's Destruction felt a headache coming on. What did it smell like? Su Yu, on the other hand, frowned slightly. He looked at Heaven's Destruction once again and asked, Sir, which powerhouse was Duo Bao under his command back then? Which clan was he from? Duo Bao. Heaven's Destruction did not know why he had suddenly shifted his attention to Duo Bao. After thinking for a moment, he said, Duo Bao. Let me think. He was a conferred general. What was his position back then? He thought for a moment and then said, he is in charge of the Heavenly Treasures Department of the Imperial Court. He is the Heavenly Treasures Marquis and is mainly in charge of the distribution of some treasures. He can be considered a fat lackey in the logistics department. He is much more comfortable than us. Which clan is Duo Bao from? Heaven's Destruction thought for a moment, he said, the Tong Bao Rat clan. Yes, that is the clan. They've already been wiped out. This fellow might be the only one left now. This fellow likes to collect treasures. After a battle with me, he destroyed at least 100 Earth soldiers and 3 or 4 heavenly soldiers. He's quite rich. Su Yu smiled. As he spoke, he picked up the fragment. After a moment of hesitation, he said, Sir, are you saying that this thing is real? What? Tian Mie was in a trance. What did he mean? Su Yu said in a deep voice, it's nothing. One just feel that. It shouldn't be like this. The main thing is that little hairy ball felt that it was fragrant, but it didn't pounce on it to eat it. On top of his head, little hairy ball was at a loss. So what if he didn't eat it? He hadn't been very hungry recently. It was really strange. It was quite fragrant. Su Yu put down this and said, Sir, how strong is the so-called Marquis? Where is the human king? Tian Mie said strangely, Marquis. After stepping into the Daemerge, he has made a great contribution. Most of them can be conferred the title of Marquis. At the very least, they can get a title of general. The title of Marquis usually means the Daemerge. Su Yu smiled and said, So, are there any Daemerge cultivators who are not conferred the title of Marquis? Some, for example. Our boss. Tian Mie grinned and said, Boss was not conferred the title of Marquis. In fact, he had already stepped into the Daemerge at that time. However, if he was conferred the title of Marquis, he would have to take charge of King Gong's mansion. Boss was not willing, so he did not accept the responsibility. Actually, even if he didn't take charge of King Gong's residence, Boss should have received the title of Marquis by the time the mission ended. King Gong had already requested for the human emperor's order. Later, it was delayed because of King Wen's matter. Later on. There was no later on. Su Yu nodded slightly and said with a smile, if Lord Tian Mie had completed the mission and stepped into the Daemerge, he would probably have received the title of Marquis, right? Heaven extinguished mouth, almost. At that time ready to give me a title, later I think the boss or title, it is better to wait for the boss first title, how do I know there is no then? Why do you ask? The sky extinguishes strange way, these things, no also useless, just some ancient small gossip. Su Yu smiled, casually asked, that Jian Tianho is which clan? Heaven overseeing Marquis. Tian Mie scratched his head and thought, most people probably don't know about this. However, I played well with King Wen's disciples back then. Occasionally, I've heard people say that Heaven Overseeing Marquis is a relatively rare clan. It's not even considered a clan. It's called something called spiritual enhancement. What's that? How would I know about that? I just heard it from someone. Do I have to go to the bottom of it and ask? One have no interest in Heavenly Marquis Jian. He is still considered important and has always been given an important task by King Wen. He is also from King Wen's mansion. Speaking of which, that person. He pointed at little Harry Ball, that person from his family. He should have known Heavenly Marquis Jian back then. Their relationship might be quite good. That person from his family is also from King Wen's mansion. Little Harry Ball was at a loss, right? Then can I go to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion and eat without paying? Little Harry Ball asked. It had wanted to rob the Heaven Hunting Pavilion for a long time. Could it go and eat without paying? Heavenly Destruction chuckled and said, "You can try." Little Harry Ball curled his lips and did not dare to go. He was afraid of being beaten to death. If he was beaten to death, he would not be able to see the fragrant ones. As for Su Yu, he gently stroked the fragment as various thoughts arose in his mind. As a master forger, he was currently thinking of a question. Was this thing really real? Or could it be that someone had faked it? What was the meaning of faking it? What was the ultimate goal? The reason why he had such a little suspicion was because, on one hand, he had started from faking and naturally had some suspicions. On the other hand, when Su Yu observed this record word, it actually did not give birth to a natural divine text. Bad review. Under normal circumstances, Su Yu would be able to give birth to a divine text after comprehending something. When Lao Wan was writing, Su Yu had even given birth to a civilized divine text. This King Wen's treasure, with my talent, Su Yu, to look at it, you actually did not give me a divine text. What did this mean? Also, he easily observed Heaven Overseeing Marquis. Heaven Overseeing Marquis seemed to know nothing. Heaven Overseeing Marquis was so easily observed. Little Harry Ball said that it was fragrant, but he didn't have the same sense of urgency towards the Golden Atlas. Back then, little Harry Ball was so weak. When he smelled the scent, he immediately flew towards the Golden Atlas. Today, there were some people who only smelled the fragrance but didn't have the desire to eat it. Taking a deep breath, Su Yu grabbed the fragment tightly. He suddenly felt that he might have been schemed against. Heaven Overseeing Marquis. Duo Bao. Money to buy his life. Su Yu thought about it and asked, "Sir, is Duo Bao seriously injured this time?" "It's quite serious. I destroyed his golden body." "You might not know about the golden body, so just treat it as one of the 3 bodies being destroyed by me." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2833, Chapter 2833, Chapter 599 had a big secret 3. Chapter 2833, Chapter 599 had a big secret 3. Then at that time, you kept chasing after him. Could you have killed him? Tian Mie sneered, "Are you looking down on me?" Su Yu laughed, "Of course I believe in Sir's strength." "I mean, does Duo Bao know Sir's strength?" "He was the first to intercept Sir, and it was so smooth." "That immortal Emperor Steel, is it very useful to him?" "I'm not sure about that. This grandson probably knows about my strength." "HMPH, he's courting death. If it was back then, I would have killed him with a stick." "So, he was inferior to Sir back then?" "Inferior to Sir's strength back then?" "Of course." "Then, has his strength improved now?" Don't think so." Tian Mie was a little confused by him. What was the point of asking so many questions? Su Yu said again, "Then, if Sir chased after him back then, he kept running. If Sir couldn't kill him, would he continue to chase after him?" "Of course not. Tian Mie gritted his teeth and said, at that time, when the battle was at its head, he kept running and ran into the endless void. It was still difficult to kill him. Then, I chased after him for a while. If it really didn't work, I would have gone to fight someone else. It was fine as long as he ran away. Suyu nodded. Then, is this record fragment a treasure to the Lord? Of course. It's a supreme treasure. It's one of the fragments of King Wen's divine weapon. If combined with the heaven hunting roll, it would be very powerful. Although he had given it to Suyu, he knew that it was a treasure. Suyu nodded again. It wasn't a sure-kill situation. He had spent money to buy his life and given it to Tian Mie. Under normal circumstances, there shouldn't be a problem. But if he looked at it with suspicion, he felt that there was a problem. In the distance, Wan Tianxing was walking through the air. Tian Mie glanced at him. You're here again. Wan Tianxing smiled and bowed slightly. Greetings, Tian Mie. Tian Mie couldn't be bothered with him. Wan Tianxing didn't mind and looked at Suyu. What's wrong? Suyu tossed the fragment to Wan Tianxing. Take a look, head prefect. Inject your willpower and see if you find anything. Wan Tianxing injected some willpower and soon shook his head. One didn't find anything. It's a very mysterious treasure. I can vaguely see the images of some people, including mine. This should be the prototype of the previous Tao manifestation rankings. The previous Heavenly Treasures building should have used this to push out the Tao manifestation board. However, it wasn't as intuitive as it was after combining them, so the ranking was a bit messy. Suyu nodded slightly. He thought for a moment and suddenly took out an item. Wan Tianxing frowned slightly. Suyu smiled and said, Manor Head. Take this and take a look. Wen Tombstone. On the side, Tian Mie said strangely, this thing is in your hands again. Suyu smiled and nodded. He had heard about it the last time. Heaven Extinguisher knew about it. As expected, he knew about it. Wan Tianxing took the tombstone and injected some willpower into it again. After checking it, he quickly threw the tombstone to Suyu and shook his head. It's still some images. There's nothing else. What do you want me to see? Have you seen Heaven Overseeing Marquis? Wan Tianxing said in surprise, you saw him? Yes. Suyu smiled. I saw him. It has nothing to do with the tombstone. In that case, it really has something to do with the Golden Atlas. Am I thinking too much? Or is the Heaven Overseeing Marquis goal the Golden Atlas? Does he know that the heaven hunting list isn't complete? Plots and tricks formed in Suyu's mind. He held the fragment in his hand again. Suyu thought for a moment and said, I might be able to learn some extremely important information through this. Suyu smiled and said, Principal, do you think that a person who has been alone for 100,000 years would talk to himself and reveal some secrets deep in his heart? Wan Tianxing shook his head. Don't know. Maybe he will. He has been alone for too long. Maybe he likes to talk to himself. Principal, you have been in the Heart Cultivation Pavilion for many years. Do you also like to talk to yourself? A little. Wan Tianxing smiled. What's wrong? Is it inappropriate? Then do you still have the energy to talk about it after 100,000 years? Probably not. Let's talk about it after I've lived for 100,000 years. Suyu exhaled. I hope I'm overthinking things. If I'm not overthinking things, doesn't that mean that Heavenly Lord Jian has been plotting against me since the beginning? That wasn't right either. Duo Bao had thrown out this life-saving treasure after I had lured someone into the dead soul's realm. After that, when someone died and I wasn't dead, Duo Bao had lost the battle and thrown out the treasure. It was probably just a precautionary measure at the beginning, but it was later officially implemented. Duo Bao and the Heaven Overseeing Marquis might be in cahoots. Suyu thought to himself that all of this had been based on his suspicions. If his suspicions weren't valid, then his suspicions wouldn't be valid. Their target might not be me alone. Perhaps they were targeting Demi-Emperor Tian Yuan at the start. That's a possibility. The other word is on Demi-Emperor Tian Yuan's side. In truth, I wasn't the one who desired this item the most at the start. Instead, it was Demi-Emperor Tian Yuan. Duo Bao's strength was inferior to his, so it was normal for it to be snatched away. However, after that, I killed a large group of people on my side. After that, Tian Mia became very powerful, and the item ended up in my hands. It wasn't too difficult to determine if the item would fall into his hands. Tian Mia didn't care about that. After Suyu found out about it, he would definitely come and take a look if it was related to King Wen or Shi Guangshi. If he were to discover any secrets, it wouldn't be strange for him to get his hands on it. I'll wonder if he can detect me in reverse. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2834, Chapter 2834, Chapter 599 has a big secret for. Chapter 2834, Chapter 599 has a big secret for. It shouldn't be possible. Otherwise, it would make people wary. Suyu smiled and tossed the treasure in his hand. Alright, regardless of whether it's real or fake, I'll keep it first. I'll naturally judge the rest. Alright, then it's fine. Lord Apocalypse, let's go. Suyu said as he thought. West Pavilion Master. I didn't pay attention to this before. West Pavilion Master specially came to remind me that the record fragment is with Heaven's destruction. Is he afraid that I won't know about this? Am I being too paranoid? West Pavilion Master has helped me a lot. Without his help, I would still be in great danger if Heaven Hunting Pavilion took action this time. Strange. Am I being too paranoid? Suyu thought to himself, perhaps I am being too paranoid. Pavilion Master West had stood up for the humans without any hesitation. At the crucial moment, he had blocked the South Tower's Pavilion Master. How could there be a problem? But what if there was? At that time, the few unrivaled experts of the Heaven Hunter Pavilion might have been an opportunity to kill me, but, at that time, I hadn't opened the undead passageway yet. The wise king of the immortals knew that I could open it, but what about the heaven overseeing Marquis? He must have known as well. Since he knew, he should have understood that these few invincible experts wouldn't be able to kill him so easily. The fact that I didn't open the undead passageway meant that I still had a backup plan. At this time, the Pavilion Master of the Western Pavilion had turned the tables and charged out in public to return to the human race. This wouldn't arouse any suspicion. In fact, people might even think that the Pavilion Master of the Western Pavilion had played a huge role. If it wasn't for him, then the enemy would have 2 more Eternal 7 Dan experts. In reality, even if he didn't step forward and even if he kept chasing after them, at the last moment, he and Pavilion Master South Tower might have been tricked and killed by Suyu. And now, he and Pavilion Master South Tower were both alive. Pavilion Master West. You're so righteous. At the critical moment, you return to the human race to help them find you, and then you want to save them and save those humans at the 10th tide flow. There are several old antique humans in the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, the Minister of the Earth, the Minister of the Sky, and the Pavilion Master of the Western Pavilion. The Minister of the Sky was so powerful, but because of the concepts of heaven overseeing Marquis and King Wen, he hadn't been able to straighten them out. He had gone mad. The Minister of the Earth had walked all the way to the end, and he had no intention of returning to the human race at all. Only the Pavilion Master of the Western Pavilion quickly chose the most correct path. Suyu kept thinking to himself as he looked at Wan Tianxing and transmitted his voice. Head Prefect, the first head prefect said that during the 9th tide flow incident, almost all of the ancient humans died in battle. Yes. Then why didn't the head of the Sky Division and Pavilion Master West fight their way out of the ninth tide flow? You're asking me? Wan Tianxing smiled. Either there was a more important mission, or he didn't think it was necessary. However, the head of the Sky Division did have a conflict with himself, resulting in the division of his 3 bodies. He destroyed himself. I think he had a similar conflict at that time. Why didn't he fight in the end? Maybe he had a more important mission. Or maybe he didn't know about that battle. Wan Tianxing could only guess. If he didn't experience it personally, how would he know about this situation? Alright, so you didn't ask anymore. Wan Tianxing transmitted his voice. Did you find something wrong? I'm a little suspicious. Su Yu transmitted his voice. I'll tell you in a few days. Wan Tianxing didn't ask anymore. Soon, he escorted Su Yu to the ancient city of Xinghong and asked, are we going back to the human race? In the first generation, we've narrowed down a lot of our targets. If we only investigate the 2 of you, I think we should be able to investigate. He actually wanted to go back, but it was very difficult for him to go back now. Moreover, he had killed so many people before. Now, the invincible ones might not care about him and trust him. On the other hand, Su Yu might be more trustworthy. The great Qin King and the great Xia King might be willing to listen to a few words from Wan Tianxing. The great Qin King believed the words of a person called a demidemon. The other invincible ones would probably trip him up. As for those who knew, he and Lu Hong and Su Yu were the only ones. Needless to say, Lu Hong did not have the qualifications to investigate invincible. I have to go there sooner or later. Su Yu nodded. No matter what, I have to bring the Sea of Consciousness secret realm over. I'm useful, so my willpower has to rise and quickly enter the 9th level of the mountain and sea realm. Saying that, he said, as for the trader's matter, I'll think of a way to find out. If it really doesn't work, I'll bring dozens of guards to threaten the humans. Don't act recklessly. The 10,000 heavenly saints was rendered speechless by him. If you do this, the great Qin King and the others won't support you no matter what. They won't give you the chance to forcefully investigate. The eternity that was originally on your side will probably be forced to the other side by you. Even if you're threatening the guards to investigate the traitor, if you find out, everyone will probably be unhappy. This is the dignity of the race. Kid, don't you dare act recklessly. Some of the older generation who were unrivaled in opening a prefecture were very concerned about these things. It was fine to investigate a traitor. Even if Su Yu had his own strength, it was fine to beat them until they were convinced. After all, he was a human. If you brought a group of non-human experts to threaten them, even if it was essentially to investigate a traitor, the final result would probably not be ideal. If Su Yu could bring outsiders to investigate Invincible today, then if another human came out tomorrow and brought immortals and demons to attack the human race, wouldn't he have to give up? Su Yu thought for a moment and nodded. Head Prefect is right. I didn't think much about it. Sometimes, it's not necessarily a good thing to have too strong a fist. It's good that you understand. Wan Tianxing didn't say anything else. The 2 quickly landed in ancient city of Xinghong. Wan Tianxing said, these few days, I'll teach you some simple rules to use. I won't say anything else. I'll give you a head start and get you started. The rest is up to you to comprehend. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2835, Chapter 2835, Chapter 599 had a big secret 5. Chapter 2835, Chapter 599 had a big secret 5. Also, all treasures, all external support, are not as powerful as the body itself. He looked at Su Yu, with a serious expression. He said, your foundation is very good, terrifyingly good. However, your progress is too fast, and you don't have much time to accumulate and digest, to comprehend some things. In terms of physical strength alone, you should be comparable to someone at the 6th or 7th stage of eternity. You've opened that so-called primordial spirit aperture, and you're even comparable to someone at the 8th or 9th stage. All of this, you're stronger than me. But to put it bluntly, Su Yu, do you believe that in a life and death battle with you, the greater possibility is that you'll be killed by me? Su Yu nodded. No matter how strong your physical body is, it's useless even if you can't hit the prefect. A blunt knife will cut your flesh, and sooner or later, you'll cut me to death. However, if I run into the dead soul realm, the prefect won't be able to do anything to me. Wan Tiansheng was speechless. Needless to say, this was for sure. Su Yu bared his teeth and smiled. Moreover, even if the head prefect is strong, he won't be able to kill me with a single strike. Without 1,000 or 800 strikes, he won't be able to kill me. Wan Tianqing sneered, what you think is just what you think. Your physical body is strong, but is your willpower very strong? Ordinary civilized masters are unable to deal with you. Do you think that I can't deal with you? Your blood essence is strong, so I have a way to deal with it. Avoid your blood essence and focus on killing willpower. Su Yu shrugged. Fine, I won't argue with you. The two of us couldn't come to a conclusion even if we argued. Wan Tianqing didn't continue, but he cursed in his heart. You don't give me face. A person like you doesn't deserve a teacher. Very soon, Wan Tianqing's small classroom began. There were a few students, Su Yu, Little Harry Ball, Elder Wang, Elder Bai, and Lu Hong. Yes, they were all here. Wan Tianqing didn't hold anything back. He was just using the rules. Furthermore, he was a teacher in the first place. He was in charge of the School of Civilization, and in the beginning, he also taught, but later on, he stopped teaching. L won't talk about the basics anymore. Wan Tianqing was straightforward. He said, today, let's talk about the River of Time. What do you think the so-called River of Time is? Su Yu said directly, time travel, a passage in space. Nonsense. Wan Tianqing said in a deep voice, most people probably think that way, but in my opinion, it's wrong. It's possible to travel through space, but time travel is all nonsense. The group was surprised. The River of Time could travel through time. The so-called traveling through time is all a joke. Wan Tianqing said indifferently, have you seen anyone who traveled through time from the past and killed anyone? Is the human emperor powerful? He has traveled through time from the past to the present. Who can defeat him? But Su Yu immediately said, I have seen him. I even came with you to meet Lord Xinghong. Also, that person from the Harry Ball family has also traveled through the River of Time and entrusted it to Lord Xinghong and the others. All of this has happened before. Wan Tianqing shook his head, this isn't time travel. This is just the use of one's will. For example, when I brought you to the ancient city of Xinghong, it was actually just our will that descended at a certain moment, and Senior Xinghong is powerful enough to be able to capture the moment when his will was entrenched. That's why he was able to receive this information. Actually, normal people are unable to receive it. Wan Tianqing smiled and said, have you ever seen a weakling saying that he saw an expert in the long river of time and space? One don't know. Su Yu shook his head. Wan Tianqing didn't say much. Perhaps I didn't understand it myself, but I'm only teaching you guys some of my own understanding now. Perhaps in the future, you guys will have some of your own understanding. In my opinion, the long river of time is actually a simple spatial passage. If you step onto it, you might be able to see some of the past. Those are just some of your own memories. It's very difficult for you to see the past of others. As for the future that you see, there's a high probability that it's just an illusionary future. It's just one of the tens of thousands of futures in your mind. Of course, if you go back in time, you might be able to see some of the past that others have experienced. Those are just some of the reappearance of memories. In fact, it's a different method. The king of silkworm exterminators is good at this. I won't talk about this anymore. Today, I will mainly talk about how to use this to fight, accelerate, escape, and deal with the attacks of other people from different dimensions. This Su Yu was interested. Su Yu was not interested in killing someone in the past or in the future. He was only interested in how to escape and how to fight his opponent. Actually, it is still a matter of will. The core of Wan Tianxing was his will. What was will? He explained for a while, and Su Yu listened for a while. He frowned slightly and waited for Wan Tianxing to explain. Su Yu said, "Principal, what you mean is that the so-called past and future are all illusions. Or rather, real illusions. It's fine if you put it that way." Wan Tianxing smiled and said, "You believe that I'm in the past now. If I kill you in the past, the other party also believes that you killed me in the past, a person's will can kill him." Su Yu frowned. "Then I'm 100% sure that others can't kill my past and future. Don't tell me that as long as you're confident, you won't die. That also depends on your strength. Even if you don't believe it, the other party will guide you into a certain scene in the past and future. Naturally, you will believe it. If you die, you die." The two of them continued to chat. Wan Tianxing had his own way of understanding the rules. He did not force everyone to believe him. Everyone's understanding of these things might be different. He only passed on what he knew and comprehended to everyone as a reference. On Su Yu's side, he directly activated the flame of inheritance, and even the few people around him had some comprehension. It had to be said that the effects of Su Yu's thing were quite good. It made people excited and their brains active. Some of the forgotten knowledge was remembered. Wan Tianxing couldn't help but laugh as he continued to talk about his own comprehension. In the end, Su Yu tried to tear apart the long river of time and space. He actually opened up a not-so-big river of time and space, with some law energy revolving around his body. The others more or less had some insights. Not far away, Lu Hong was also listening attentively. After a long while, Lu Hong suddenly said, "Actually, the divine text is the beginning of a type of law comprehension." "Principal, is that right?" Wan Tianxing could not help but look at him. Lu Hong said dryly, "I just thought of Su Yu's blood-written divine text, which has some illusory realm, and then I thought of the real illusory realm that Su Yu mentioned, so I was wondering if it's easier for civilized masters to comprehend some rules, and the divine text is actually the simplification of rules." Lu Hong continued, "So, in my opinion, it's more difficult for civilized masters to attain Tao than warriors because of this point. That's because the divine text that you comprehend is a type of rule power. The more you comprehend, the more difficult it is to attain Tao. As for the divine text that Su Yu mentioned earlier, I feel that it might be a type of perfection of laws. By combining some of the laws that you have comprehended to perfection, it forms the so-called innate skill." Previously, when Su Yu spoke, he was also present and had heard everything. At this moment, he gave his own opinion. "As for the difficulty of attaining Tao as a civilized master, I feel that it might be a type of formulation of laws. The ceiling is too high. Perhaps if you really attained Tao as a civilized master, you would have reached the level of some top-notch ancient experts." Lu Hong continued, "Now, there are still some ancient rules. What exactly are these rules?" "One feel that it might be the addition of the ancient expert's own rules. Simply put, when your civilized master has attained Tao, you also have the same strength. You can add the power of the rules that belongs to you to the existing network of rules." Wan Tianxing's eyes were bright. At the side, Su Yu's eyes also moved slightly. Divine runes, rules, adding a rule that belonged to him to the power of rules. This was the making of rules. So, when multiple divine runes masters attains the Tao, they can activate the restrictive power of the human race. Because they have touched upon the rules set by King Wen. The suppressive power was also a type of rule-making. At this moment, many things that they did not understand suddenly became somewhat transparent. Suyu suddenly looked at Lu Hong. Lu Hong smiled sheepishly and said, "I was just casually saying some of my insights. Please don't look at me like that. Everyone has their own thoughts. Allow me to express some of my views. This is an academic seminar. You guys won't not give me a chance to speak, right?" Suyu ignored him. He was only thinking that this was really just a casual comprehension and not something that he had known for a long time. Not far away, Wan Tianxing was deep in thought. After a long while, his eyes lit up as he said, "Perhaps I have some understanding of my future Tao." Suyu took a deep breath and suppressed his desire to beat Lu Hong to death. "Forget it, I won't argue with you. This fellow must have some secrets." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2836, Chapter 2836, Chapter 600, I Understand Again, L. Chapter 2836, Chapter 600, I Understand Again, L. A civilized master achieves the Tao with the addition of the power of rules. Suyu's gaze fluctuated as he quickly said, "L only heard of the theory of the way of the virtual entity, but I don't know what the way of the virtual entity is." "Teacher Lu, guess again. What does the way of the virtual entity mean?" Lu Hong laughed dryly and said, "You can ask those way of the virtual entity experts. How could I possibly know?" Suyu smiled and said, "Teacher, you're too modest. If you can make such a connection, how could a smart person not know? You said that making rules is to add a line that belongs to you on the big web. Let's temporarily call the rules Tao. Then, isn't the immortal soul third level also a process of establishing Tao? Or is it a process of being in the middle of the eternal and the true great Tao? And if I set the rules and call it the great Tao realm, teacher, what do you think?" Suyu's gaze changed. "So, the civilized master's drawing of the divine runes to strengthen the divine runes is actually a process of establishing the Tao. It's actually the same process as the warrior's body strengthening and comprehending the rules. So, the civilized master might not exist in the eternal realm, but a step into the great Tao realm? No, perhaps there was. Civilized master's understanding of the rules was based on divine runes. Did that mean that divine runes could actually be strengthened until one day, they were above the rules? Then why couldn't they be strengthened now that they were in the sun and moon?" Suyu quickly said, "Let's not talk about that first. Let's talk about the three-body technique. The past, the present, and the future. The three-body technique is actually based on the understanding of the rules. Does the appearance of the three bodies represent the understanding of the three rules of the past, the present, and the future? Eventually, the three rules will merge into one and then become the Great Tao Realm. In other words, if the Great Tao Realm really exists, there is actually no three bodies, regardless of whether or not they have cultivated the three-body techniques." On the side, Wan Tianxing said in a deep voice, "Lu Hong said that the divine prose is the embryonic form of the rules, and it made me feel a little moved. If the so-called Great Tao Realm that Suyu mentioned really exists, then the divine prose master really has attained the Tao, perhaps he will really transcend everything and become a great Tao expert. However, since the divine prose is the embryonic form of the rules, it's difficult to continue improving after reaching the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm. Perhaps it's because we have come into contact with too little great Tao." Wan Tianxing hesitated for a moment and said, "Then we may need to come into contact with more rules." Suyu nodded, "So, whether it's breaking the rules or the rewards of the rules, in fact, we need to capture more power of the rules to comprehend and comprehend. I'll understand a little, why it's so difficult for divine scribes to attain Tao because they lack the punishment and rewards of the rules. I understand that." Suyu rubbed his chin. Do more disrespectful things and let the rules punish and even comprehend the divine runes from the rules. If the divine runes are the rules, then the rules are also the divine runes. Interesting. The two of them chatted. Elder Wang could be considered a civilized master, but he was a bit of a dabbler, but he could still understand some of it. As for Elder Bai, he was able to understand the gist of it, but he only understood one thing. Su Yu was courting death. He wanted to rely on the lightning tribulation or rewards to comprehend the divine inscriptions to raise his level as a civilized master. This madman. Not far away, Lu Hong sighed. He was filled with regret. These two madmen, I was just saying this, don't misunderstand. The two of you, please don't act recklessly. I was really just saying it casually. Lu Hong had a sincere look on his face while Su Yu nodded. No, I understand. It has nothing to do with you. Now, it's our own deduction. I feel that this deduction is very reasonable. Actually, I was careless before. Previously, when I absorbed the power of the rules, I improved very quickly. Now that I think about it, it's actually quite normal. It's not that one improved faster, but it's more in line with the rules. Su Yu sighed and said, it's been a long time since we did research. Principal, I suggest that we should set up a research institute to capture the rules and conduct research. Of course, it's not convenient for me to come forward, but I think that my teacher and the others are all experts in this area. It's best if we can research which punishment corresponds to which rules correspond to which divine language corresponds to which great Tao. Su Yu added, in addition, I have some ideas. Principal, you'd better gather some information. I want to know whether the reward rules are superfluous to the punishment rules, or the punishment rules are superfluous to the reward rules. Are there more reward rules? Myriad Heaven Sage hesitated and said, there's no need to investigate. There are rewards for killing in the heavenly battlefields. There must be more reward rules. Then, were these rules made by the parliament or by the human emperor? Su Yu smiled and said, it said that the human emperor will only reward and not punish, and the parliament will only punish and not reward. That might not be true. The rewards in the heavenly battlefield are not only for the human race, but also for all the races. Wasn't this made by the parliament? Could it be made by the human emperor? You mean? Su Yu smiled and said, I'm thinking about a problem. The human race has been unable to produce eternal divine runes. Is it because the human race's rules don't appear enough, and the 10,000 races' rules appear more, so the 10,000 races can produce eternal divine runes, but the human race can't? This is caused by the imperceptible influence of the rules. Lu Hong looked at them again and sighed again. Great, you people can really connect the dots. Su Yu did not care about him. Lu Hong was enough. After all, he was a civilized master. He loved to seek research, but he was not a true civilized master. Su Yu continued, I'm only curious about one thing now. The path of convergence. How exactly does it work? Is it to align myself with the great Tao? Or to start from scratch and open up a new path? Is it to build on the foundation of the predecessors, or to create a new path for myself? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2837, Chapter 2837, Chapter 600, I Understand Again, 2. Chapter 2837, Chapter 600, I Understand Again, 2. Also, the 9-leaf sky lotus, I now roughly know what its function is. The addition of rules, through the addition of rules forcefully promoted to the way of the unity, and what kind of way of the unity? The way of the unity must have strong and weak. Su Yu stroked his chin and said, don't know much about the way of the unity, but let me make a simple analogy. The rules are the lines on the internet, countless lines represent countless rules. The way of the unity is to overlap one's own lines with the original lines. If someone's line overlaps with the line on the net by 50%, then I think he can use 50% of the power of the rules on the line. If he overlaps by 30%, then he can only use 30%. If someone starts from scratch, he will use some holes on the net to weave his own line. Su Yu continued, King of Man. King of Man, I think he may have surpassed the third level and reached the Great Tao realm. Or he overlapped with someone else's Great Tao, or he started from scratch and created a line by himself, breaking away from the big net that we are now in. An Emperor and King One are very powerful, I think it may be more lines, but we are really in the same realm, all in this grid. For example, the Emperor weaves 8 lines, his power is certainly much more powerful than a line, but they are still in a plane. And we are all under the grid. Su Yu grinned and said, interesting. Yes, we are all below the grid, so the rules can punish us. If you don't listen, the big net will fall, and the power of the rules will turn into a whip, whipping you continuously. If you are obedient, this line will turn into an itch, a tickle, and let you have a good time. Vulgar. Wan Tiansheng was speechless. The final metaphor was too vulgar. Finally, Su Yu concluded, therefore, this world can be simply divided into 2 layers, inside and outside the grid. Some people from the ancient times jumped out of this net and turned into this net. It's very difficult for us to surpass this net now. Wan Tiansheng said faintly, then, do you think that there are stronger existences outside this grid? Then I don't know. Su Yu smiled and said, everything is just speculation. Wan Tiansheng nodded slightly, now that you say it, I have more feelings. I need to come into contact with this net and understand more. I need to strengthen my own net line and strive to have a line that belongs to me on this net. Su Yu nodded, and then he grimaced and said, no Senior Lan Tian, S. Dao. He is the kind of person who casts a wide net. Su Yu chuckled and said, he's casting a wide net at the unity of 10,000 Dao. He's casting a wide net everywhere to see if he can catch a line. If he's lucky and catches one, he might be able to display an incomparably powerful strength. If he's unlucky and his clone doesn't catch that line, he's quasi-invincible. At this point, Su Yu's eyes moved slightly as he said, Teacher Lan Tian, I feel that his strength might fluctuate sometimes. If his clone catches the Great Tao well, he must be very strong. If his strength isn't enough, if his luck isn't good, his clone will die, or he won't be able to capture the Great Tao. Then he won't be able to. As for the vessel. At this moment, Su Yu thought for a moment before saying, it's something that carries the power of laws. Under normal circumstances, it requires some ancient artifacts or items from the bodies of experts. For example, hair or scales. Because these items may have been washed away by the power of laws. Therefore, the choice of the carrier is likely to determine which laws and Great Tao you are compatible with. Su Yu gave an example, for example, I've seen a dragon race that uses the reverse scale of a dragon to carry it. The owner of the reverse scale must have come into contact with Great Tao before. This dragon uses this to verify its Tao. It's simpler. It's more compatible with the Tao of an ancient dragon race. Another example is some of the objects I obtained in the Starry Mansion. Once I use them to carry it, I might be more compatible with Old Zhou's Tao. Old Zhou? Lu Hong asked in puzzlement, who's Old Zhou? A martial emperor? Su Yu smiled casually, don't know. I just randomly picked a name. So, over the years, if someone uses the dragon winding wood as an object to carry it, I feel that the other party might be more compatible with Old Zhou's Tao. Those who use the dragon winding wood to verify their Tao can become eternal. However, I feel that they can't transcend and become a great Tao expert. If there's any information, I think we can look it up. The Starry Mansion existed in the ancient times. I don't think anyone who uses the materials of the Starry Mansion can become a great Tao realm expert. Lao Wan frowned and said, in the ancient times, we didn't use the three-body techniques, so we don't need a carrier. Wrong. Su Yu shook his head. I'll think we need it too. But maybe we only need one, a carrier that belongs to us. To receive the power of laws, for example. Su Yu pointed at the ancient city below him. This is the vessel, Lord Xing Hong's vessel. At this moment, a figure appeared. Xing Hong appeared. He looked at Su Yu with a complicated expression. After a long while, he said softly, "Yes, this is my vessel." This is also a relatively common but not weak Tao verification method in the ancient times. When I picked up the Vivapon, my strength was much stronger because one was using my Tao. Su Yu, you're a genius. Su Yu smiled and said, "L don't deserve it. I'm just expanding on Teacher Lu's foundation." Since an ancient powerhouse had come, Su Yu did not stand on ceremony and said, "Master Xing Hong, the ancient times might not have cultivated three bodies, but I feel that the price to cultivate such a weapon might be greater than three bodies, right?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2838, Chapter 2838, Chapter 600, I Understand Again. Chiu subscribe, 3. Chapter 2838, Chapter 600, I Understand Again. Chiu subscribe, 3. Xing Hong nodded slightly. Although the three-body technique is rubbish, to be honest, it's hard for us to say too much about the ancient rules, but the three-body technique should be considered a relatively cheap cultivation method. Su Yu, I see that you're forging your civilization. Your Tao is more similar to our Tao, using civilization to bear the power of the rules, but you also know how much it consumes. It was huge. It was so huge that it was a little scary. Su Yu nodded, I'll understand. The appearance of the three-movement technique might not necessarily be to restrict anyone. It might be that there's really no other way. It's too much of a waste of resources to walk another path. The three-movement technique is so good that two rubbish-bearing items would do. However, if we walk the path of Xing Hong and the others, if nothing goes wrong, the value of his ancient city would exceed the value of 5 bearing items. Xing Hong smiled wryly. It's more than that. Let's double it. The heavenly saints and the others inhaled deeply. This consumption was really something that an ordinary person would not be able to endure. Xing Hong continued, however, our strength is indeed much stronger than the three-body technique. Putting everything else aside, we have actually been sealed and have not used our weapons. However, you will know just by looking at it. When those of the same level as us with the three-body technique fight against us, they are almost all suppressed by us. I am at Eternal 8 Dan, but I have been petrified. My strength has decreased somewhat, and I have not used any weapons. It is equivalent to not using two bodies for the three-body technique, but I can fight to the point that I cannot raise my head. This was a different way to prove one's Tao. Su Yu asked, what is this way of proving one's Tao called? Weapon fusion technique. Xing Hong explained, to forge a powerful weapon, man-soldier unity, weapon fusion technique. Su Yu's eyes flickered. I think of one person. Zhao Li. Wan Tianxing nodded. Is it Zhao Li? Su Yu smiled and said, it's him. Xing Hong had seen Zhao Li the last time. He thought for a moment, then nodded and said, that person also has the tendency of fusing weapons. In fact, it can be considered as an orthodox cultivation method. Other than that, there are several other orthodox cultivation methods in the ancient times. Su Yu said again, sir, then when you cultivate eternally, are you now getting close to a certain type of law power? Xing Hong hesitated and said, that's hard to say. I haven't reached that stage yet. But what you said may be generally correct. The way of the unity is most likely to be more compatible with a certain type of Tao. You can ask boss about this. He should know. He glanced at the few people present, and for a moment, his emotions were complicated. When a group of people who did not even have eternity were discussing how to achieve the Daemerge, how to surpass the Daemerge and step into the Great Tao, he was very confused and lost. Was this how cultivation was done? Cultivation was not about which realm one cultivated to, and which realm one was in charge of. Why were a group of people who had not reached eternity deducing how to achieve the Daemerge and how to surpass the Tao merge? Was this the human race? Did the human race send out so many experts because of this kind of faith and spirit? He did not quite understand. Therefore, at this moment, he was slightly confused. As for Su Yu, he was also a practical person. He did not stand on ceremony and quickly said, "Then, sir, escort me on a journey. I want to see Sir Hong Meng. If my guess can be verified, then I will know how to cultivate my divine script." 3. Rules. Yes, rules. First, I have to confirm if this is correct. Once it is correct, then Su Yu will discover the best cultivation method for the divine script path. Of course, it is only suitable for the strong and geniuses. The weak are not worthy. The weak are not afraid of being killed by the rules. Go ahead and try. Xing Hong was extremely touched. He nodded and said, "All right, one will escort you there." Without saying much, he quickly left with Su Yu. After they left, Wan Tianxing glanced at Lu Hong and said meaningfully, "Researcher Lu, you're really knowledgeable." Lu Hong said dryly, "Man or head, don't tell me you're suspecting something as well." "I'm really not. I'm just deducing normally." "Do you believe that by phone can deduce it even if he's here?" "As researchers, how can we not even have this bit of deductive ability?" Wan Tianxing smiled, "Suit yourself. You're a smart person. That one wangling of yours could be considered to have saved Su Yu from a calamity, and Su Yu probably really look for trouble with you. He's a person who holds grudges, but he also remembers favors. He didn't say it out loud, but he probably doesn't want to say it. He probably won't lay a hand on you, don't worry." Lu Hong said in distress, "All right, I really didn't do anything." "Sigh, forget it, forget it. Whatever you think, Principal, PM so wronged." Wan Tianxing was too lazy to say anything else. "If you say so, then so be it." At the same time, Su Yu quickly arrived at Hongmengu City. Old Turtle's figure also quickly appeared. With a smile, he was just about to speak when Su Yu said, "Sir, let me ask you a question. After the Daemerge, are you at the Great Tao realm?" "Of course, I only named it, but the meaning is about the same." Old Turtle was slightly shocked. "You. What do you want to say?" Su Yu did not delay and quickly said, "It's like this. I'm wondering if the Daemerge is compatible with a type of rule power." "Sir, did you create a rule yourself, or did you follow the rules of the predecessors?" As he said that, Su Yu said, "Yes, Sir should have followed his own rules. Because Sir is very old, perhaps there were no rules back then." Old Turtle looked at Xing Hong, and Xing Hong looked up at the sky. "Don't look at me, I didn't say it, I don't know either. If you want me to say it, I don't know what to say either." Su Yu said to himself, "So, there are strengths and weaknesses in the Tao merge, or perhaps I guessed wrong. Actually, eternity is the beginning of the Daemerge. The entire realm is the Daemerge, including eternity. However, eternity is only considered the true Tao merge when it reaches the Daemerge, right?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2839, Chapter 2839, Chapter 600, I Understand Again. Show subscribe, 4. Chapter 2839, Chapter 600, I Understand Again. Show subscribe, 4. Old Turtle was speechless. Su Yu's eyes moved slightly as he said, "I'll somewhat understand." Yes, the Tao is the beginning of the Tao convergence. I understand now. The rules. Yes, the rules can be used eternally. From the first stage to the 9th stage. I somewhat understand how to divide it. For example, for a great Tao, your first stage might fit within 10%, the second stage is within 20%, and the third stage is within 30%. Suyu suddenly sucked in a sharp breath. He said in shock, "I'll understand why small worlds are the weakest when it comes to fusing with the Tao. Small worlds fuse with the Tao, and they reach the first stage of eternity because they fuse with the laws the least, and they might be at the bottom of the laws. And great worlds are usually around the second stage, because great worlds fuse with the laws a little more. As for the grand heavens battlefield, I understand now. Because there are more powers of laws here, they fuse with each other more, that's why they are stronger when they fuse with the Tao in the grand heavens battlefield, because the instant they fuse with the laws, they fuse with each other more. As for the experts from the small worlds, if they don't walk out, I suspect that they will be stuck in eternity for the rest of their lives. However, if they walk out, after a long time, I suspect that their strength will improve as well. In fact, there isn't much difference." The old turtle stared dumbfoundedly. "You were the one who said it, but I didn't say a single word. I didn't say a single word. One moment, you will understand one reason, and the next moment, you will understand another. Then, why are you still asking me? You've restarted everything, and you've already figured it out on your own. Are you here to play with me? You must be joking." Suyu muttered, that Eternal 9 Dan might have a 90% compatibility with the Tao of laws. And the Tao merge has a compatibility of over 91%. Therefore, strictly speaking, there should be several levels of Tao merge. Actually, the Tao merge competition should be about the strength of the power of laws. The one who controls the power of laws is stronger, and the one who is stronger. Of course, it also has something to do with one's own Tao. Suyu murmured, "Yes, it also has something to do with some things. For example, there is one rule. There are 3 Tao merge cultivators, and the 3 Tao merge cultivators share the power of one rule. Then, the 3 Tao merge cultivators are definitely not as powerful as the experts who enjoy a single AAO01 law. Therefore, in order to be more powerful, I think it's best to open up a Tao of one's own in the Tao merge realm and enjoy it alone. No, it should start from the eternal. From the moment you reach the Tao fusing realm, you should start looking for your own Tao, and not attach yourself to someone else's Tao." Old Turtle's heart was tired. He set up a tea table in front of him and poured himself a cup of tea. He did not drink it by himself. Suyu was probably thirsty. "Drink some." He handed it over to Suyu. Suyu drank it in one gulp and did not mind. He quickly said, "Therefore, the more difficult a Tao is, the more powerful it will be after cultivating it. That's because you might be the only one who enjoys this Tao. And the rules are too simple. Under such rules, the people born are all very weak, even if they are at the Tao fusing realm. In addition, there is only one Tao fusing expert in the clan now. Could it be that because there are too many people at the Tao fusing realm, they will share the strength of the other Tao fusing experts? That's why there are so many old immortals, but none of them have reached the Tao fusing realm. Because they haven't found a suitable Tao merge." Suyu said. He stroked his chin and said, "That's possible. Perhaps there's a limit to the Tao merge. For example, if there's only one Tao merge and there are at most 10 people who have reached the Tao merge, then if there are 9 hidden Tao merge, there's a possibility that no one can reach the Tao merge at all, because there's one here, unless they find another Tao merge." Suyu continued, "On the human side, the Great Qin King and the others are unable to reach the Tao merge." Suyu muttered, "There are 2 possibilities. There are too many humans who walk the same path, and the quota is full. Old Antique has taken up the quota, and the Great Qin King and the others are unable to interfere. This is the first possibility. The second possibility is that the human Tao has been damaged. Because of that commonly used Tao, too many people have fused with the Tao, and too many have died. Every time they die, the great Tao is damaged. Perhaps there is a problem with this Tao, and there is no way to fuse with the Tao. If you want to fuse with the Tao, can you only open up a new Tao or find a new Tao to fuse with? Suyu thought for a moment, then, he said, no, there's another possibility. For example, the Battle King of the Ninth Tide was so powerful that he might have really transcended, but he didn't. This old fellow might not have died. He's too powerful. He took up all the shares by himself, and the people squeezed by him won't be able to reach the immortal soul third level. Right. Last time, I said that the human race of the Ninth Tide put all their eggs in one basket, and everything fell on the Battle King. One understand a little now. Could it be that some old fogey voluntarily withdrew from the immortal soul third level and gave that rule to the Battle King, giving him the strength to rival the enemy king? The old turtle was stunned. He also drank a cup of tea to calm himself down. After a while, he said with some horror, Suyu, that, in the last tide flow, many of the human race's Tao fusing realm experts died. Some of them felt like they were courting death. Suyu's face was full of excitement. As expected, my guess is still reasonable. There's evidence. Suyu looked at the old turtle excitedly. Sir, the people of your race might walk the same path as you. You killed all your clansmen. Perhaps you can become 99% of the peak Tao fusing experts. To be close to the ancient human king, the prerequisite is that your seniority must be high enough. Old Turtle opened his mouth wide and looked at him. L didn't kill my clansmen. Suyu was stunned. Looking at Old Turtle said gloomily, why are you looking at me? I really didn't kill them. Some of them died of old age, and some died in the ancient changes. I didn't kill my clansmen. Suyu said dryly, no. I'm not talking about that. What I mean is, I said that you've become 99% of the peak of the third level 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 of the third level. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2840, Chapter 2840. Chapter 600, I Understand Again, 5. Chapter 2840, Chapter 600, I Understand Again, 5. Old Turtle was stunned and instantly denied, how is that possible? If we really do as you say, PM the worst in the third level of the third level. Suyu was deep in thought. Old Turtle's reaction was not normal. Beside him, Xing Hong could not help but say, boss, could it be that this kid is right? It can't be, right? He's just making wild guesses. Are you really that kind of powerhouse that's close to the ancient king of man? I don't really believe it. Old Turtle was speechless. After a long while, he said, cut the crap. Suyu. Your guess, to be honest, some things are actually beyond our understanding. When we cultivate, we pay attention to letting nature take its course. We rarely go to the root of the problem. This will make cultivation very boring. Therefore, he did not say whether Su Yu's guess was right or not. He only said that when it came to cultivation, let nature take its course. As for his negative attitude, Su Yu said unhappily, "Sir, cultivation is a rigorous thing. It is not something that is allowed to take its course. If it is allowed to take its course, then I will not cultivate. That is the most natural thing. Since I am cultivating, I must ask for the truth." Old Turtle was speechless. One was reprimanded by a 20-year-old young man. I am 200,000 years old. Did I take 10,000 years as a year? At this moment, Old Turtle sighed. He looked at Su Yu and said helplessly, "When I cultivate, I'm most afraid of others analyzing this and that with me. Just cultivate well. Why do you keep asking so many questions?" "No, I'm thinking of how to cultivate faster." Su Yu explained, "Sir, let me ask you something. Do some of the current rules sometimes match with the rules that you guys control?" Compatible. Old Turtle said thoughtfully, "What do you mean by compatible?" "For example, there was once when a lightning tribulation descended. You went to withstand the lightning tribulation and realized that the lightning tribulation couldn't harm you. Then, one think this is a type of compatibility. Or rather, when you use the ability that you control, it's equivalent to a rule descending. This is also a type of compatibility." Old Turtle seemed to be deep in thought and nodded slightly. "L should have this feeling. I should have this feeling when 1 a.m. in the immortal soul 3rd level. L understand." Su Yu understood. "As expected, I am a genius. I know how to cultivate next, how to comprehend the divine script, and how to strengthen the divine script. Everything is settled. Today is simply my lucky day. I seem to have grasped the true meaning of the divine script." Lu Hong's words had opened a new window for him. Su Yu's face twitched as he thought. "No, I have 99 divine inscriptions. Don't tell me that I want to fuse with 99 great Tao. Then, if I wanted to fuse with the Tao, the difficulty would be through the heavens. However, if I really succeeded in fusing with the Tao and took the crucial step to become the great Tao expert I spoke of, then I would be able to control the power of 99 laws. Even if the ancient kings were reborn, they would still be beaten to death by me." He was still thinking about it, and Old Turtle and Xing Hong looked at each other helplessly. Xing Hong did not want to think about it at all. Old Turtle was a little powerless. It was as if his turtle shell had been peeled off and he did not wear it. Su Yu was the guy who peeled off the turtle shell. When the Daemerge was extremely mysterious and powerful to others, someone was ripping off their old records. This was very uncomfortable. Su Yu quickly sobered up and said with a smile, "Sir, the last time you asked me to come to Hongmeng City, was there something you wanted to tell me?" The old turtle wanted to say something, but he hesitated. After a long while, he said dryly, "It's nothing. I just wanted you to be careful and not run around." He actually wanted to tell Su Yu that it was very difficult for the human race to step out of the Daemerge realm. "Su Yu, you want to become a true powerhouse. From now on, you have to build your own path, and so on and so forth." Old Turtle had thought about it countless times before. How should he explain it to Su Yu more clearly? He didn't know much about the Tao of humans, but he knew that the tide of humans had yet to reach the Tao fusing realm. If it wasn't for the fact that it could no longer appear. Or else, they would have taken a completely different path. In the end, before he could say anything, Su Yu came running over and gave him a beating. Su Yu nodded. He was speechless. That was all he had to say. He was dizzy. Of course, he knew that he had to be careful. Forget it, he was an old man. It was normal for him to be a little chatty. However, very quickly, Su Yu said himself, "Sir, according to my speculation, won't the human race be unable to form the Tao fusing state during this tide?" Old Turtle said tiredly, "Your own speculation, you can think about it yourself." I'm not sure about the specifics, but the Tao of the physical body is probably very difficult. The Tao of divine literature, I'm not sure about that. The Tao of divine literature couldn't work either. Suyu thought. Of course, he couldn't rule out the possibility that someone was powerful enough to become one with divine literature and comprehend his own Tao of divine literature, but he didn't take the final step to transcend and become an expert of the great Tao. Great Zhou King. Suyu suddenly thought of this person. It couldn't be, right? Probably not. Forget it, forget it. He reminded again, my lord, if there is still someone in your clan who is at the Tao fusing realm, I think you should either kill him or open your own path. At your level, opening your own path might be easy. Otherwise, I think it would be very difficult for you to take that step. My heart is so tired. Old Turtle thought to himself and said faintly, I am in the Tao fusing realm, and you are the mountain and sea realm. I don't need you to teach me. Kid, don't be too arrogant. A friendly reminder. Suyu bared his teeth and smiled. Very quickly, he said, I'll now somewhat understand why Sir said that once Lord Xinghong and the others are freed and receive the reward, they will be able to step into the Tao fusing realm. This is because almost all of their clansmen have died. When the time comes, the rewards should be their corresponding power of laws. Therefore, they have a very high chance of stepping into the Tao fusing realm. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2841, Chapter 2841, Chapter 600, I Understand Again. Kju subscribe, 6. Chapter 2841, Chapter 600, I Understand Again. Kju subscribe, 6. Old Turtle didn't say a word. Don't tell me. I don't know. I'm just making a judgment based on experience. Thinking of this, Old Turtle suddenly said, then let me ask you something. Why is there a difference even though we are both at the peak of the immortal soul third level? The difference in strength. For example, PM saying that I'm at the peak of the immortal soul third level. The 99% of the immortal soul third level that you mentioned is the same. Similarly, why is there a person who is also at the same level? Then why is it that my control is not as good as his and my strength is not as good as his? Suyu laughs way, this possibility is too many. First, the other side attached to the Tao, very powerful. For example, you may be attached to the Hongmeng Turtle Clan founder of the Tao, he may be attached to the ancient emperor of the Tao, that cannot be compared. His ways are too big, and yours are too small to be compared. Second, he's too timing. Maybe he's too timing. Thirdly, your Tao is conflicting and targeted. He is targeting you. Fourthly, the goal of merging with the Tao is to use it for his own use. In the end, he will turn this Tao into his own. Don't be fooled by the fact that they are both 99%. Perhaps he is showing himself. He is almost turning the Tao into his own, yet you are still using someone else's Tao. Fifth. There is no need to say any more. Old Turtle interrupted him and fell into deep thought. So that's how it is. The gap between me and the Eastern Heavenly King, is it because of this? Is it due to a targeted approach, or is his Tao a little thicker? Old Turtle fell into deep thought, while Suyu, through voice transmission Xinghong, said, Sir Hongmeng is really amazing. What? Sir, you don't even understand this. Generally speaking, for example, or perhaps I have a friend, most of them are talking about themselves. Lord Hongmeng is most likely at the peak of the Tao fusing realm. Right now, he has encountered an enemy who is also at the peak of the Tao fusing realm. However, the other party is suppressing him, so there's nothing he can do. However, he doesn't understand the situation and doesn't know how to catch up. Now that he has reached the end of this path, there's no use in cultivating. Therefore, he probably can't even be bothered to cultivate now. Suyu continued, so, right now, Lord Hongmeng is worrying about how to solve this problem. If nothing goes wrong, he still has to ask me. Just as he said that, Old Turtle coughed lightly and said, what are the two of you whispering about? Let's not talk about it for now. Suyu, let me ask you. If my Dao is targeted by him, or not as thick as his, how am I going to solve this problem? He added, this path has come to an end. As for transcending, let's not talk about it anymore. Next to him, with a crunch, he bit his petrified tongue. Old Turtle rebuked, do what? How old you are, do not have calmness at all. Xing Hong nodded dryly, for a long time, opened his eyes wide, looking at the Old Turtle, my boss, may be a peak of the 3rd level. The point is, who can beat my boss? Xing Hong hurriedly way, boss, who is your opposite? Dong. Cough cough cough. Old Turtle suddenly coughed. It's not good to be physical. What opponent? I have been in charge of this city for 100,000 years. My opponent is long dead. Suyu glanced at Xing Hong from the side. Xing Hong was in a daze, drifting away. My boss really has an opponent. The opponent is very strong. Dong. Dong. What was that? My boss's opponent is dead, dead. He thought for a long time and his mouth suddenly opened wide. The 4 heavenly kings of the undead. What? Suyu was stunned for a moment. Xing Hong's expression suddenly changed. And he quickly flew away. I'll go get some food for you guys. As soon as he said that, he had already disappeared. Old Turtle looked displeased and quickly smiled. Ignore him. He's already so old. He's so scared. Suyu, what do you think we should do if we encounter such a situation? Suyu hesitated for a moment and shook his head. L can't say. I'm just saying. If we really give it a try, people will die. Cultivation is very strict. I'm not joking. He thought to himself, you're already dead. What should I do? There's no one to protect me. How great is it now? I know. You're awesome. You might be the #1 person in all the worlds. At least for now. In all the worlds in the universe, Old Turtle might really be the strongest. Of course, according to Xing Hong, Old Turtle's enemy might be in the dead soul realm. Whatever. In any case, Suyu felt that he couldn't speak nonsense. Everything he said was just a casual guess and conjecture. Once Old Turtle really believed it, although he wouldn't be so stupid, if he really had no other choice, what if he believed it? He would play himself to death. At that time, Suyu wouldn't be able to shoulder this responsibility. Old Turtle nodded slightly, perhaps what you said is right. Suyu, the human race is still the human race after all. The human race has the strongest spirituality and the highest intelligence. At first, I was worried that you would be blinded by this victory, but now, I feel that perhaps, the future of the myriad worlds and the heavens will be very exciting. Only with you will it be exciting. Only with you will it be exciting. Suyu had a shy look on his face. Sir, you are flattering me. I like to talk nonsense. Actually, it's just a small matter. My master, my friend, can easily make such a deduction. It's too simple. Who are you trying to imply? Too simple. Too simple. Why do I feel that I have gained something today? Some enlightenment. Old Turtle cursed in his heart. On the other side, Suyu's heart was beating. He felt that Old Turtle was cursing him in his heart because the calamity divine script had just started. Beating. It looked so scary, but it quickly returned to normal. Was this interference with the rules? How terrifying. After they finished talking, Old Turtle didn't want to say anything more. Finally, he said, what great Tao realm are you talking about? Actually, that's not how you call it. Of course, it's up to you. At that stage, no one cares about these things anymore. Indeed, most of the experts back then were in this realm. There's one thing you're right about. Anyone who can set rules is a peerless expert. As for me, I'm not at that stage. He can't make the rules. I can't do what I say. And at this moment, the heavenly battlefield cannot accommodate such an existence. Because, it will cause a conflict of rules. No matter how strong you are, including that person behind you, no matter how strong you are, the rules of one person are not as strong as 100 people. Suyu is pensive, Nod, in the heart is enlightened. However, Old Turtle, this is to say that he is really the pinnacle of the way. That's awesome. P.S. Please vote. Give me a monthly ticket. Also, these chapters are perfecting the realm and so on, not to mention water. It's really much more difficult to write than fighting. Fighting is so simple, you punch me and I kick you. Without thinking, ka is 10,000 words. This thing writes 10,000 words, a lot of brain cells are dead. You have to write. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2842, Chapter 2842, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm is About to Rise Again. L. Chapter 2842, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm is About to Rise Again. L. After bidding farewell to Old Turtle and waiting for Xinghong to return, Suyu and Xinghong quickly returned to the ancient city of Xinghong. This journey was not for nothing, but to lay the foundation for Suyu's next steps. In the ancient city, the 10,000 heavenly saints continued his small class. Talk about the rules, talk about the rules. Only a clear heart can clear the path and know what the core is. After listening to the 10,000 heavenly saints talk about this, he would be able to gain a general understanding of some things, including why the power of the rules of the 10,000 heavenly saints was very strong. There was also an explanation, because this person had quite a number of divine texts. And they must also be very strong. Divine texts were the rules. And Suyu was not idle either. As he listened to the class, he digested the gains from the previous great battle. Previously, he had received a large amount of heaven and earth rewards for killing the Wisdom King, including killing a few invincible ones. He had not absorbed and digested them, but they were all taken away by his civilized will. Now that he knew that these were the power of laws, and that cultivating divine runes was also cultivating the power of laws, Suyu began to put more thought into it. In the next few days, Suyu mainly studied these power of laws. At the same time, in the outside world, some things about Suyu had also spread in the upper circles. For example, his evil soldiers needed to absorb countless amounts of blood essence and carriers to strengthen. Suyu even wanted to start another great war in the myriad realms. Kill more invincible soldiers to satisfy his wishes. All of this shocked some people, and it also made many people more determined to kill Suyu. If this person didn't die, it would definitely cause a huge disaster. Ancient city of Xinghong. Wan Tiansheng was preparing to leave. This was the 9th day he stayed. City Lord's residence. Wan Tiansheng didn't have much to say. He looked at Suyu and said with a smile, "Then I'll leave." In this ancient city, every move is monitored by people. It's not good. The eyes of all the worlds are here. Suyu nodded. Be careful, man or head. If you go out, some people might think that you're my disguise. You'll have to test it out. There might even be people who will sneak attack you. It's alright. I'll call you when there's danger. They won't dare to ambush me rashly. Suyu didn't say much, nor did he try to persuade him. Experts wouldn't always live under the wings of others. Suyu had no choice now. He was forced by the heavens to not go out. One Tianxing asked, there are rumors in the outside world that you need a large amount of blood essence to strengthen the evil weapon. Are you going to sell that now? Suyu smiled, no, I'm not selling it. I'm selling this. He took out the record fragment and Wan Tianxing was slightly stunned. Suyu smiled, sell it to Duo Bao. Where did it come from? Where did it go? If it doesn't work, sell it to Half-Emperor Tian Yuan. Wan Tianxing looked at him and was speechless for a long time. Suyu smiled again, what I want most is the heaven overseeing marquis. If he wants to buy it, he can. Then, those humans from the heaven hunting pavilion. Suyu smiled and said, I'm not going to save them. I'm a cold-blooded person. Compared to those humans, it's more important for me to increase my strength. The 10,000 heavenly saints looked at him meaningfully. Are you really going to sell it? Suyu grinned. We'll see. In any case, they were not selling the smiley mouth lotus right now. Otherwise, it would be too obvious if they were to compare the two. Even if he wanted to sell the smiley face lotus, he would have no choice but to sell it. Wan Tianxing didn't say anything else. Suyu had his own ideas. Suyu wasn't a young man who hadn't been beaten up by society. He had killed his way from the human realm to the heavens, from the heavens to the dead soul realm, and back again. He had killed his way back and forth thoroughly. Compared to his experience, the current Suyu was no worse than any old fox. Then you be careful. Wan Tianxing didn't say anything else. Soon, he floated up and disappeared. Suyu was also floating in the air. When Wan Tianxing left, Suyu could feel that some of the fluctuations in the surroundings had also disappeared. At the same time, there were other fluctuations. At this moment, Suyu suddenly left the city and punched out into the void. Boom! A loud bang rang out as a sun and moon was blasted into pieces by the punch. A book appeared, covering the sky and earth, instantly absorbing the sun and moon. The book did not stop. It continued to expand. Pages after pages of the book unfolded. It was as if someone was flipping through a book. In the air, space was torn apart, and phantoms appeared one after another. In the blink of an eye, 6 or 7 suns and moons were devoured by countless phantoms. The book continued to fall, and in the blink of an eye, it blotted out the sky and covered the entire ancient city. It continued to fall into the sea, and in the sea of stars, some of the demons and aquatic races outside the city, regardless of whether they were strong or weak, were all killed. At this moment, Suyu was like an evil demon. A holy path evil demon. In the sky above the ancient city, Suyu's expression was calm. He had his hands behind his back, and his white clothes were as white as snow. He watched helplessly as the will of civilization devoured countless lives. Suyu's voice was calm, but it reverberated in all directions. No life is allowed to appear within a radius of 100 miles where the sacred city is located. If you want to find me, report to me. Do not approach me at will. The myriad races in the heavens are no exception. In the distance, an expert in the void said angrily, Suyu, you massacred wantonly without saying a word. Are you really not afraid of the myriad races killing me together? Suyu's expression was indifferent. How many times have all the races killed me? What was the point of saying such ridiculous words? If they could kill me, they would have done so long ago. Did you think that Tian Gu and Ji Wu didn't want to kill me? What a joke. Get lost. If you don't get lost, when my sacred city descends, I will kill you and sacrifice you to the flag. Then, we will start the battle of the heavens. In the distance, that expert was extremely furious. However, he didn't dare to say anything else and flew away. Some of the hidden experts in the surroundings also flew further away. These people were all staring at Suyu. They were staring at his every move. They were staring at him to see if he would leave the city or go somewhere. You're tuning into the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2843, Chapter 2843, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm Has Risen Again. 2. Chapter 2843, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, The Storm Has Risen Again. 2. At this moment, Suyu was being watched by everyone in the world. He had instantly massacred all the living beings within a radius of 100 miles, and it was soon known by all the races. They also saw how his troops covered the sky and covered the sun, how incomparably evil he was, and how he devoured all the living beings. In an instant, Suyu's notoriety was known by everyone in the world. This was a real massacre. Compared to Suyu, Xia Longwu, Qin Zhen, and the others could be considered as people with a conscience. Suyu, this fellow, was the true massacre. He killed countless people, yet he was unable to do anything to him. He was frighteningly powerful. East Rift Valley. Currently, the East Rift Valley had a large number of unrivaled experts guarding it. A great war had already erupted, and the battle of the heavens had arrived. It was different from the previous peace. On the East Rift Valley side, the Vanguard Battalion had already become the gathering point for all the unrivaled experts. Not long after Suyu started his massacre, soldiers quickly came to report from the main hall, reporting to your majesties, the Wan Mansion Master has already left the city. City Lord Su took the opportunity to clean up the scouts around him and killed the 7 sun and moon experts. There are countless people under the sun and moon, and no living beings are allowed to come within 100 miles of the ancient city of Xinghong. Anyone who disobeys will be killed. What Mayor Wan? Someone snorted. Myriad Sage is no longer a mayor. He has betrayed the human race. Just call him by his name. The soldier who reported did not say much. He did not refute, but he did not change his words either. Justice was in the hearts of the people. Myriad Sage killed the traitor Invincible, killed the invader Invincible, saved. Xia Longwu participated in the Battle of the Heavens, and killed many invincible experts. Such an existence was viewed as an enemy by the invincible human race. The key was to destroy the 2 holy lands and kill a large number of invincible descendants. However, to the ordinary soldiers, the 10,000 heavenly saints were saints. Whether they were demons or not, they had their own judgment. Humph. Seeing that the soldier didn't speak, as an invincible, how could he not know what he was thinking? An invincible snorted and said unhappily, "Get out." "Yes, sir." That soldier did not say anything more. He quickly stood up and turned around to leave. In the crowd, someone laughed lightly and said, "All right, don't be angry with a soldier at the front line. If you really don't like Wan Tiansheng, go find him and settle the score yourself. Didn't I just kill one of your sons and 2 of your grandsons?" And, as soon as these words were said, it added fuel to the fire. The invincible soldier who was angry earlier, he said angrily, "I've been fighting for many years ahead. So what if I really raised a few second-generation grandsons?" Wan Tiansheng didn't even say a word and went up to kill them. What right did he have? Even if those second-generation grandsons of mine are cowardly, what does that have to do with Wan Tiansheng? After so many years of hard work, can't I let my descendants enjoy their happiness? When these words were said, the group of invincible ones didn't say much. They were living rough, but not rough. Unrivaled conquering the heavens naturally had the intention of letting their children and grandchildren enjoy their lives. Up ahead, the great Qin king said calmly, "All right. The 10,000 heavenly saints killed people because the sun and moon didn't obey military orders. During that period of military control, they didn't kill those who enjoyed themselves, but those who didn't obey military orders. Don't confuse the public." Humph. That unrivaled expert didn't say anything else. The 10,000 heavenly saints had used this point to slaughter them because they didn't obey military orders. Otherwise, Invincible would have gone to settle scores with the 10,000 heavenly saints. The great Qin King did not want to dwell on the matter of the 10,000 heavenly saints. He said in a deep voice, "We are not talking about the 10,000 heavenly saints now, but about Suyu. Although the last war ended, it does not mean that it is over. That was just the beginning. The 10,000 races in the heavens, especially the immortal race, have seen how easily they sent out many ninth-stage Eternal Realm experts. There are too many high-stage Eternal Realm experts. There are probably more than 100 Eternal Realm experts. Just the immortal race alone can crush the human race. Moreover, there are all the major races, and they have countless experts. The human race's strength has not been damaged in the past few incidents. On the contrary, it has increased a little, and there are a few new Eternal Realm experts. However, it is still not enough, far from enough. Without an immortal soul third-level expert, it is impossible to intimidate everyone." The great Qin King said word by word, and at the end, he said in a deep voice, "Now, the 10,000 races are not watching the human race fight. It is not because the human race is strong, but because the 10,000 races intend to divide the human race into two factions, the human race and Suyu. If Suyu dies, the human race will definitely be besieged by the 10,000 races." The 10,000 races had not reached an agreement before. The gods and demons were worried that they would surround and kill the human race, and the immortals would take advantage of them. Now that the immortals have suffered heavy losses, they are determined to become enemies with the human race. Thus, all the powerful races have reached an agreement. Now, their target is Suyu. Suyu used the Dead Soul Realm and the Starry Palace to intimidate everyone. However, the powerful races will not give up. They will definitely find an opportunity to kill him. The great Qin King spoke for a while. Finally, he said, "Therefore, Suyu cannot die. Once he dies, the barrier in front of the human race will be broken. Everyone, you must understand that this time, a large part of the reason why Suyu stood out is for me, for the few eternal humans." After saying this, the great Qin King looked around and someone said in a low voice, "Old Qin, what do you mean? Stand by at all times, help at all times, and fight at all times." As the great Qin King said this, he said in a low voice, "On Suyu's side, if there's any danger, on the human realm side, stand by at all times and fight at all times. Have 10 Eternal Realm experts on standby, and keep an eye on the ancient city, just in case. There aren't many Eternal Realm experts to begin with, and now we have to divert our forces to protect Suyu. It's not protection, it's cooperation." The great Qin King frowned and said, "Do you understand? I think you all do. After living for so many years, it's impossible that you don't understand what I'm saying. Don't you understand this principle? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories." Chapter 2844, Chapter 2844, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, Another Storm. 3. Chapter 2844, Chapter 601, Qin Zhou's Secret Discussion, Another Storm. 3. He has the help of the ancient city guardian, does he still need our help? The great Qin King frowned again, the ancient city guardian is not a human after all. At the crucial moment, he might not be focused on saving Suyu. He, Suyu, also doesn't recognize humans. The great Qin King exhaled and said coldly, "Then according to everyone's wishes, it's best if we don't ask about it." "That's not what I mean. What I mean is that since Suyu can hold on by himself, let him hold on for now. The human race should use this rare period of peace to let more people verify their Tao. Now, it's very difficult for the 10,000 races to gather a second batch of large-scale forces to stop the human race from verifying our Tao. This is the best time. We humans still have so many eons. Can the 10,000 races send 50 to 60 eons to stop us now? It's best not to interfere in Su Yu's matters anymore. Let the 10,000 races realize that the threat of the human race has not reached its peak yet. Su Yu's threat is number one. The great Qin King said coldly, "That's a good idea. Indeed, this is a good opportunity to strengthen the human race. Then let me make a suggestion. What do you all think about it? Just say it, great Qin King." The great Qin King looked around for a long time. He said lightly, "The two great holy lands of the human realm have been destroyed, and they can't be rebuilt now. Recently, some people have been neglectful and stopped researching. I've thought about it and asked the few returning human realm experts in Lu City to open the Holy Land again. Just like back in Xia Chen's time, they would open the Quest Realm. Lu Wenyan would be in charge of the new Holy Land, with Nan Wujiang, Yun Chen, and the others overseeing it. He would hire Su Yu to be the leader of the new Holy Land and strengthen the connection between the human realm and the ancient city. Su Yu would be the middleman and let the human realm and the ancient city form an alliance." Just as he said this, someone said unhappily, "Great Qin King, you mean to ask Su Yu to be the leader of the only holy land in the human realm?" "That's right." "No. Soon," someone objected. "Su Yu is extremely arrogant and has killed countless races. He has killed many humans as well. He doesn't have the heart of a saint and doesn't have a strong affinity with the human race. How can he take on such a big responsibility?" Some of the unrivaled experts were shocked. This time, when the great Qin King returned from the Starry Palace, he actually wanted to elect Su Yu as the lord of the human realm sacred land, the only sacred land. At this juncture, this signal was too strong. If the name wasn't right, then the words wouldn't be right. If Su Yu really became the lord of the human realm's sacred land, then what would happen next? If something happened to the great Qin King and the others, or if they retreated, who would be the head of the human realm? Someone retorted, "Great Qin King, this is probably just your wishful thinking. Even Su Yu himself might not be willing. Moreover, Su Yu was strong, but no matter how strong he was only below eternity. He was too young. Could it be that the great Qin King was prepared to let a 20-year-old youth take charge of the sacred land? Why not?" The great Qin King said calmly, "If we look at age, Tian Gu and the others have lived a long life. Why not invite them to be the masters of the sacred land?" "Great Qin King." The great Qin King interrupted, "It's my idea to open the sacred lands again. Su Yu might not be willing. Whether he was willing or not, I had expressed my intentions. Whether he was willing or not, it was just a name. If he wasn't willing, let his teacher or father do it." The great Qin King said indifferently, "As for whether or not to open the sacred lands, since you guys don't agree, then let's vote on it. This is my idea. One won't force anyone, but I will agree." Currently, the human race was invincible. On the surface, including Yun Chen, there were exactly 50 people. In reality, there were still a few people who had their 3 bodies chopped off and were currently recovering. The great Qin King chose to vote on the 50 people who were invincible. He felt that it shouldn't be a big problem. The great Qin King's thoughts were simple. Currently, under their generation, Xia Longwu and the others were talented and powerful, but they were unable to lead the human realm to fight against the heavens and deal with the 10th title change. As for himself, 3 of his bodies had been killed, and his future was uncertain. As for old Zhou and the others, they had no hope of reaching the Daemerge. Right now, the human race needed a strong, talented, and promising person to lead the human race and unify the human race. Su Yu, he felt that it was appropriate. Of course, Su Yu's relationship with the human race was not that harmonious, but this time, the great Qin King felt that Su Yu still had a strong sense of race in his bones, and that was enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the risk in the starry manner. After that, there was no need to make a big fuss. Now that Su Yu's trump cards had all been exposed, it was much more dangerous than before. Someone said in a low voice, "A vote? Great Qin King, even if the final vote is passed and the decision to open the Holy Land is passed, doesn't that mean that the Great Qin King isn't afraid? Just like before, the appearance of the Holy Land isn't only useless, but it will even intensify the competition between the manors." It was not as if the sacred land had never been opened before. What was the result? Last time, it was them, and now it was Su Yu. Who would be the next 10,000 heavenly saint? The Great Qin King said in a deep voice, "At the very least, there won't be anything like that for a short period of time. That's enough. Now, the battle of the heavens is imminent. I don't want to say anything else. First, I need to pull Su Yu's heart back to the human race. Opening a new sacred land is one of the reasons. Secondly, the new Holy Land will be led by the Willow City branch. The various manors will have to contribute money and manpower." The unrivaled experts all had strange expressions on their faces. The Great Qin King had made up his mind. Someone said, "Then we should at least ask for Su Yu's opinion and Lu City's side, right? We were so excited that the Holy Land was ready, but no one came. Su Yu didn't agree, and Lu City didn't return. Wouldn't that be a joke?" "That's right. Now that a new Holy Land has been set up, it's become a joke. To you, Great Qin King, it's also a blow to your prestige. I think we should wait and see."